Trump.
Woo! Let's go, Trump.
Right, let's see it.
Gentlemen, thanks so much for being here. Let's
I gotta
begin
take some
the
notes.
debate, and let's start with the issue that voters consistently say is their top concern: the economy. President
Here we go,
Biden,
folks.
inflation has slowed, but prices remain high. Since you took office, the price of essentials has increased. For example, a basket
Wait, did
of
they shake
groceries
hands?
that
I can't
cost
remember.
$100 then now costs more than $120. And typical home prices have jumped more than 30%. What do you say to voters who feel they are worse off under your presidency than they were under President Trump?
We got to take a look at what I was left when I became president, what Mr. Trump left me. We had an economy that was in free fall. The pandemic was so badly handled. Many people were dying. All he said was, it's not that serious. Just inject a little bleach into your arm. You'll be all right. The economy collapsed.
Let him talk.
There were no jobs. Unemployment rate rose to 15%.
Yeah, don't
It was
interrupt him.
terrible. And so what we had to do is try to put things back together again. And that's exactly what we began to do. We created 15,000 new jobs.
He looks jacked
We
up.
brought out
High as a kite.
We have 800,000 new manufacturing jobs, but there's more to be done. There's more to be done. Working class people are still in trouble. I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I come of a household where the kitchen table.
Oh, man, he's talking
things weren't
fast.
able to be met
Yes.
during the month. It was a problem. Price
Let him
of
go.
eggs,
Let him
the price of
cook.
gas, the
Let him
price of
cook.
housing, the price of a whole range of things. That's why I'm working so hard to make sure I deal with those problems. And we're going to make sure that we reduce the price of housing. We're going to make sure we build 2 million new units. We're going to make sure we cap rents so corporate greed can't take over. The combination that I was left with in corporate greed is the reason why we're in this problem right now. In addition to that, we're in a situation where if you take a look at all that was done in his administration,
Is he
didn't
breathing?
do much at all.
Uh-uh.
By the time he left, things were in chaos, literally chaos. And so we put things back together. We created, I said, those jobs. We make sure we had a situation where we brought down the price of prescription drugs, which is a major issue for many people, to $15 for a insulin shot as opposed to $400. No senior has to pay more than $200.
What is
for any
happening right
drug.
now?
All
What are we
Just let him talk.
watching?
Let him rumble.
Next
Let him
year.
ramble. Let him ramble.
Situation
Rumble, young man,
We're
rumble.
going to make that available to everybody, to all Americans. So we're working to bring down the price.
I can't
around
understand
the
a word
kitchen
he's
table.
saying.
Not a word.
That's what we're gonna get done.
Thank you,
All
President
right, here
Trump.
we go. Here
Okay,
we
let's go.
We have the
Come on,
greatest
baby.
economy in the history of our country.
Yeah.
We have never done so well. Everybody was amazed by it. Other countries were copying us. We got hit with COVID. And when we did, we spent the money necessary so we wouldn't end up in a Great Depression, the likes of which we had in 1929. By the time we finished, so we did a great job. We got a lot of credit for the economy, a lot of credit for the military, and no wars and so many other things. Everything was rocking good. But the thing we never got the credit for, and we should have, is getting us out of that COVID mess. He created mandates that was a disaster for our country. But other than that, we had given them back a country where the stock market actually was higher than pre-COVID, and nobody thought that was even possible. The only jobs he created are for illegal immigrants and bounce back jobs, a bounce back from the COVID. He has not done a good job. He's done a poor job, and inflation's killing our country. It is absolutely killing us.
He's right.
Thank you, President Biden.
Come
The
on.
greatest economy in the world. He's the only one who thinks that, I think. I don't know anybody else who thinks he had the greatest economy in the world. And
That's not true.
The fact of the matter is that we find ourselves in a situation where his economy, he rewarded the wealthy. He had the largest tax cut in American history, $2 trillion. He raised a deficit larger than any president has in any one
Sounds
term.
weak.
He's the only president other than Herbert Hoover who's lost more jobs
Huh?
than he had when he began.
What?
Since Herbert Hoover.
Herbert
The
Hoover.
idea that he did something that was significant in the military. You know,
Trump's
when
keeping
he
his
was
cool.
president, they were still killing
I'm proud
people
of
in
him.
Afghanistan. He didn't do anything about that. When he was president, we were still finding ourselves in a position where
God,
you
slow
had
down, dude.
the notion that we were this safe country. The truth is, I'm the only president this century that doesn't have any this decade that doesn't have any
Century or
troops
decade?
dying anywhere in the world.
Wait,
like he
wait.
did.
President Trump,
What?
I want to
What
follow
was
up if I
that?
can.
Am I allowed to respond to him?
Well, I'm going to ask you a follow-up. You can do whatever you want with the minute that we give you. I want to follow up. You want to impose a 10% tariff on all goods
Fake
coming
crapper.
into the U.S. How will you ensure that that doesn't drive prices even higher?
not going to drive them higher. It's just going to cost countries that have been ripping us off for years, like
There you
China
go.
and many others, in all fairness to China. It's going to just force them to pay us a lot of money, reduce our deficit tremendously, and give us a lot of power for other things. But he made a statement. The only thing he was right about is I gave you the largest tax cut in history. I also gave you the largest regulation cut in history. That's why we had all the jobs. And the jobs went down, and then they bounced back. And he's taking credit for bounce back jobs. You can't do that. He also said he inherited 9% inflation. No, he inherited almost no inflation, and it stayed that way for 14 months. And then it blew up under his leadership because they spent money like a bunch of people that didn't know what they were doing, and they don't know what they were doing. It was the worst, probably the worst administration in history. There's never been. And as far as Afghanistan is concerned, I was getting out of Afghanistan, but we were getting out with dignity, with strength, with power. He got out. It was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country's life.
President Trump, over the last 8 years under both of your administrations, the national debt soared to record highs.
Fake crapper.
And according to a new nonpartisan analysis, President Trump, your administration approved $8.4 trillion in new debt, while so far, President Biden, you've approved $4.3 trillion in new debt. So, former President Trump, many of the tax cuts that you signed into law are set to expire next year. You want to extend them and go even further, you say. With the U.S. facing trillion-dollar deficits
and abolish the
record
IRS.
debt, why should top earners and corporations pay even less in taxes than they do now?
Because the tax cuts spurred the greatest economy that we've ever seen just prior to COVID. And even after COVID, it was so strong that we were able to get through COVID much better than just
he looks slick as hell. I love it.
But we spurred, that tax spurred. Now,
look at Joe. Look
when
at Joe.
we cut the taxes, as an example, the corporate tax was cut down to 21% from 39%.
Those are kicking in, though.
Plus, beyond that, we took in more revenue with much less tax, and companies were bringing back trillions of dollars back into our country. The country was going like never before, and we were ready to start paying down debt. We were ready to start using the liquid gold.
He's
right
nailing
under our
it.
feet,
Beautiful.
the oil and gas right under our feet. We were going to have something that nobody else has had. We got hit with COVID. We did a lot to fix it. I gave him an unbelievable situation with all of the therapeutics and all of the things that we came up with. We gave him something great. Remember, more people died under his administration, even though we had largely fixed it. More people died under his administration than our administration, and we were right in the middle of it, something which a lot of people don't like to talk about. But he had far more people dying in his administration. He did the mandate, which is a disaster, mandating it. The vaccine went out. He did a mandate on the vaccine, which
all
is
from the top of his head. None of this is rehearsed.
Most objected to about the vaccine. And he did a very poor job, just a very poor job. And I will tell you, not only poor there, but throughout the entire world, we're no longer respected as a country. They don't respect our leadership. They don't respect the United States.
He just looks like he needs a nap.
We're like
give the guy a rest. It's okay.
Weaponization of his election, trying to go after his political opponent.
Oh, he's on fire. He's on fire.
We've become like a third world nation.
Yes.
And it's a shame.
Yes.
The damage he's done to our country. And I'd love to ask him, and will, why he allowed millions of people to come in here from prisons, jails, and mental institutions to come into our country and destroy our country.
Oh, I love it.
And look at he stopped. Hey, he's poised. My guy's ready.
Fire.
He's cooking tonight, ladies.
The vegetable in
He
chief.
had the largest national debt of any president in a 4-year period. Number
What?
one. Number two, that $2 trillion tax cut benefited the very wealthy. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires.
He can't
in
even talk.
I mean, billionaires in America. And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24%, 25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 million.
That's a lot.
That's a lot, man.
On $1 billion?
That's
a lot.
We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making
those
sure
are not
we continue to
responsibilities of the state.
Our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the
there he goes with
the COVID. Excuse me.
Let him go.
Dealing with
look at 45. Look at him. Look, just let him cook.
If we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump.
Oh, wow.
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare.
On fire.
Oh, my God.
All of these people
fire.
are coming in. They're putting them on Medicare. They're putting them on Social Security. They're going to destroy Social Security. This man is going to single-handedly destroy Social Security. These millions and millions of people coming in, they're trying to put them on Social Security. He will wipe out Social Security. He will wipe out Medicare.
Look at Joe Biden. Look at his
he
face.
was right in the way he finished that sentence. And it's a shame. What's happened to our country in the last 4 years
He just doesn't
is not
look
to be
okay,
believed.
man.
Foreign
Is it just
countries,
me?
I'm
Am
I
friends with
just
a lot of
nuts?
people.
He
They
doesn't
cannot
look
believe
well.
what happened to the United States of America.
I mean,
We're no
Trump
longer respected.
exudes confidence,
They don't
strength.
like us. We give them everything they want, and they think we're stupid. They
That's
think
true.
we're very stupid people.
That's true.
What we're doing for other countries, and they do nothing for us. What this man has done is absolutely criminal.
Thank you, President
Ooh, he
Trump.
called him. He didn't go there, did he? Jason?
He is
presidential
poised,
Jason,
man.
did he go there?
since
He
the
went
Supreme
there.
Court overturned Roe v. Wade.
Wow. Okay.
This morning, the court ruled on yet another abortion case, temporarily allowing emergency abortions to continue in Idaho, despite that state's restrictive ban. Former President Trump, you take credit for the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, which returned the issue of abortion to the states.
Correct.
However, the federal government still plays a role in whether or
disagree
not
with him,
women
but
have
it's
access
beside the point.
to abortion pills.
These people are. This is
They're
the real
used
opponent.
in
It's CNN.
About 2/3
not
of all
Biden.
abortions. As president, would you block abortion medication?
No,
First of all, the Supreme
all
Court
to the
just
states.
approved the abortion bill, and I agree with their decision to have done that, and I will not block it. And if you look at this whole question that you're asking, complex but not really complex. 51 years ago, you had Roe v. Wade, and everybody wanted to get it back to the states. Everybody, without exception. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives. Everybody wanted it back. Religious leaders.
Look at Biden's face.
And what I
Jason.
did is I put three great Supreme Court justices on the court, and they happened to vote in favor
Does that
of
project
killing
strength?
Roe v. Wade and moving it back to the states. This is something that everybody wanted. Now, 10 years ago or so, they started talking about how many weeks and how many this, getting into other things. But every legal scholar throughout the world, the most respected, wanted it brought back to the states. I did that. Now the states are working it out. If you look at Ohio, it was a decision that was an end result that was a little bit more liberal than you would have thought. Kansas, I would say the same thing. Texas is different.
Look
Florida
at his
is
face,
different.
Jason.
But they're
What
all
is
making
that?
their own decisions
Terrifying.
right now.
I mean,
and
it's
right
like
now, the states control it.
I'm
the
scared
vote
of it,
the
man. If I saw
people.
that face down the
Like
hallway,
Ronald
I'd be like,
Reagan,
"Grandpa,
I
you
believe
okay?"
in the exceptions. I am a person that believes. And frankly, I think it's important to believe in the exceptions. Some people, you have to follow your heart. Some people don't believe in that. But I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. I think it's very important.
Okay.
Some people
That's
don't.
fair.
Follow your heart. But you have to get elected also. And because that has to do with other things. You got to get elected. The problem
That's
they
honest.
have is they're
That's
radical
honest, bro.
because they will take the life of a child in the 8th month, the 9th month, and even after birth. After birth, if you look at the former governor of Virginia, he was willing to do this. He said, we'll put the baby aside and we'll determine what we do with the baby, meaning we'll kill the baby. What happened is we brought it back to the states, and the country is now coming together on this issue. It's been a great thing.
Thank you.
And he
President
stopped.
Biden?
It's been
He's
a terrible
poised.
thing, what you've
Yep.
done. The fact is that the vast majority of constitutional scholars supported Roe when it was decided, supported Roe. And that's this idea that they're all against it is just ridiculous. And this is the guy who says the state should be able to have it. We're in a state where in 6 weeks, you don't even know whether you're pregnant or not, but you cannot see a doctor, and have him decide on what your circumstances are, whether you need help. The idea that states are able to do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights back to the states. Let each state have a different rule. Look, there's so many young women who have been, including a young woman who just was murdered, and he went to the funeral. The idea that she was murdered by an immigrant coming in. They talk about
What?
that, but here's the deal:
Rumbles
A lot
back,
of
y'all.
young
trying to get
women
on there.
be raped by their in-laws, by their spouses,
Oh my gosh.
brothers and sisters, it's just ridiculous, and they
Don't
can do
talk.
nothing about it. And they try to arrest them when they cross state lines.
Thank you.
There have been
Wow.
many young women murdered by the same people he allows to come across our border. We have a border that's the most dangerous place anywhere in the world, considered the most dangerous place anywhere in the world. And he opened it up, and these killers are coming into our country, and they are raping and killing women. And it's a terrible thing. As far
It's
as the
true.
abortion is
It's
concerned, it is now
absolutely
back
true.
with the states.
He is
The states
cooking.
are voting.
Cooking.
In many cases, it's
Look at
frankly
Biden's
a very
face.
liberal decision. In many cases, it's the opposite. But
Lost
they're
at
voting,
sea.
and it's bringing it back to the vote of the people, which is what everybody wanted, including the founders, if they knew about this issue, which frankly they didn't.
God,
But
look
they
at
would have
that
done.
face.
Everybody wanted brought back. Ronald Reagan wanted it brought back. He wasn't able to get it. Everybody wanted it brought back, and many presidents had tried to get it back. I was the one to do it. And again, this gives it the vote of the people, and that's where they wanted it. Every legal scholar wanted it that way.
Staying on the topic of abortion, President
He's
Biden,
handling it very
7
well.
states.
He is.
I'll let you do that. This is the
Well
same
said.
topic. 7 states have no legal restrictions on how far into a pregnancy a woman can obtain an abortion. Do you support any legal limits on how late a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy?
I supported Roe v. Wade, which had 3 trimesters. First time is between the woman and the doctor. Second time is between the doctor and an extreme situation. The third time is between the doctor, between the woman and the state. The idea that the politicians, that the founders wanted the politicians to be the ones making decisions about women's health is ridiculous. That's the last. No politician should be making that decision.
Oh, I don't know if I
doctor
can
should
talk
be
to this
making
guy.
those decisions. That's how it should be run. That's what you're going to do. And if I'm elected, I'm going to restore Roe v. Wade.
So that means you can take the life of the baby in the 9th month and even after birth, because some states, Democrat run, take it after birth. Again, the former governor of Virginia, put the baby down, then we decide what to do with it. So he's willing to, as we say, rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month and kill the baby. Nobody wants that to happen.
Look at Biden
Democrat
turn.
or Republican. Nobody wants it to happen.
That is simply not.
Oh, wait,
true.
he cut him off. Wait a
Roe
minute.
v. Wade does not.
Why is his mic not muted?
That's not the circumstance.
Wait a
When
minute.
the woman's life
Was that
is
a
in
minute?
danger,
It might have
she's
been a
gonna
Double
minute.
die.
standard.
That's the only circumstance.
That's
which
a double
that can
standard.
happen.
He
But
just
we are
interrupted
not
him.
for late-term abortion. Period. Period.
Under Roe v. Wade, you have late-term abortion. You can do whatever you want.
God, look
on
at
the
Biden's
state. You can
face.
do whatever you
Come
want.
on.
Just look at
We
Trump's
don't think
face.
that's a good
Look at
thing.
how
We
he
think
looks
it's a
very
radical
resolute.
thing.
No, I
We
agree
think
with
the
you. He's
Democrats
so
are the
poised.
radicals,
I love
not
it.
the Republicans.
He's
For
nailing
51
it.
years, that was the law. 51 years, constitutional scholarship said it was the right way to go. 51 years, and it was taken away because this guy put very conservative members on the Supreme Court. He takes credit for taking it away. What's he going to do? What's he going to do? In fact, if the MAGA Republicans, he gets elected, and the MAGA Republicans control the Congress, and they pass a universal ban on abortion.
No, he said he
period,
wasn't going to do
across the
that.
board.
Right.
6 weeks or 7 or 8 or
No,
10.
he said he wasn't going to do
something
that.
Very, very conservative.
He's giving
Is he
it to
gonna
the
sign
states.
that bill? I'll veto it. He'll sign it.
Thank you.
Let's turn now to the issue of immigration.
see,
and
they won't
border
let him
security.
interrupt.
President Biden, a record
What happened
number
to him
of
having a
migrants
chance to
have
rebut?
illegally crossed the southern border on your watch.
I don't know.
Overwhelming border states and overburdening cities such as New York and Chicago, and in some cases causing real safety and security concerns. Given that, why should voters trust you to solve this crisis?
Because we worked very hard to get a bipartisan agreement that not only changed all of that, it made sure that we are in a situation where you had no circumstance where they could come across the border with the number of border police there are now. We significantly increased the number of asylum officers. Significantly, by the way, the
Holy
Border
mackerel.
Patrol endorsed my position. In addition to that, we find ourselves in a situation where when he was president, he was separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages, making sure
Putting them in
the families were
cages?
separated. That's not the right way to go. What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened? I've changed it in a way that now,
If you
we're in a
think he's high as a
situation
kite,
where
give me a yeah in the comments.
40% fewer people coming across the border.
Give me a big
legally.
giant
It's
yeah.
better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think
Neither
he
do
knows
we.
what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country. The border, all he had to do was leave it. All he had to do was leave it.
Yeah.
He decided to open up our border, open up our country
look at
to people that are from prisons, people that are from mental institutions, insane asylum, terrorists. We have the largest number of terrorists coming into our country right now, all terrorists, all over the world, not just in South America, all over the world. They come from the Middle East, everywhere, all over the world, they're pouring in. And this guy
He said, I have no
just
idea
left
what
it
he
open.
just said.
And he didn't need legislation because I didn't have legislation. I said, close
do
the
you not
border. We
love
had the
this guy?
safest border in history.
How
In
do you
that
not love
final
this guy?
couple of months of my presidency, we had, according to Border Patrol, who is great, and by the way, who endorsed me for president, but I won't say that, but they endorsed me for president. Brandon, just speak to him. But look, we had the safest border in history. Now we have the worst border in history. There's
Did he
never
call
been
him
anything
Brandon?
like
He
it.
just called
And
him
people
Brandon.
are dying all over the place, including the people that are coming up in
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
The only terrorist who's done anything crossing the border is one who came along and killed under his administration, killed Al Qaeda.
That's not true.
And his administration.
That's
Killed
not
3
true.
American soldiers.
Only one
Killed 3 American
terrorist?
soldiers. That's the only terrorist.
You're
that's
crazy,
there.
man.
I'm not saying that no terrorist ever got through. But the
Somebody
idea
fact check
they're
that.
emptying their prisons.
That's
We're
BS.
not
Oh, it's gonna be a
welcoming
mess.
these people. That's simply not true. There's no data.
One
supporting what he
terrorist?
says. Once again, he's exaggerating. He's lying.
Look at
President
that
Trump,
face.
staying on the topic of immigration, you've said that you're going to carry out, quote, the largest domestic deportation
Hell
operation
yeah.
in American history, unquote. Does that mean that you will deport every
Yes.
undocumented immigrant in America, including those who have jobs, including those whose spouses are citizens, and including those who have lived here for decades? And if so, how will you do it?
Just 1 second. He said we killed 3 people. The people we killed are al-Baghdadi and Soleimani, the 2 greatest terrorists, biggest terrorists anywhere in the world. And it had a huge impact on everything, not just border, on everything. He's the one that killed people with a bad border, including hundreds of thousands of people dying and also killing our citizens when they come in. We are living right now in a rat's nest. They're killing our people in New York, in California, in every state in the union because we don't have borders anymore. Every state is now a border. And because of his ridiculous, insane, and very stupid policies, people are coming in and they're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen. We call it migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime.
Yeah.
They're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen before. And you're reading it like these 3 incredible young girls over the last few days.
Oh my
One of them, I
gosh.
just spoke
Biden
to
looks
the mother,
awful. He looks
and
awful.
He just had the funeral for this girl, 12 years old.
He's not even
This is
here right
horrible
now.
What's taken place? What's taken place in our country? We're literally an uncivilized country now. He doesn't want it to be. He just doesn't know. He opened the borders. Nobody's ever seen anything like. And we have to get a lot of these people out, and we have to get them out fast because they're going to destroy our country. Just take a look at where they're living. They're living in luxury hotels in New York City and other places. Our veterans
And they're giving
are
him
on the
credit
street.
cards.
They're dying because he doesn't care about our veterans. He doesn't care. He doesn't like the military at all. And he doesn't care about our veterans. Nobody been worse. I had the highest approval rating for veterans taking care of the VA. He has the worst. He's gotten rid of all the things that I approved. Choice that I got through Congress, all of the different things I approved, they abandoned. We had by far the highest, and now it's down in less than half because he's done all these great things that we did. And I think he did it just because I approved it, which is crazy. But he has killed so many people at our border by allowing all of these people to come in.
President Biden,
they're going to cut him off.
President Biden, you have the mic.
Every single thing he said is a lie.
What?
Every
Really?
single one. For example, veterans are a hell of a lot better off since I passed the PACT Act. 1 million of them now have insurance, and their families have it. Their families have it because what happened, whether it was Agent Orange or burn pits,
Trump isn't
they're
even
all
looking
being
at him.
covered now.
Good for him.
And he opposed, his group opposed that. We're also in a situation where we have great respect for veterans. My son spent a year in Iraq.
Oh, here we go. He was a freaking ice maker. What did he do in Iraq?
I was recently in
he got
France
coffee
for D-Day, and I spoke all about those heroes that died. I went to the World War II cemetery, World War I cemetery he refused to go to.
You looked at your
He was standing
watch.
with his 4-star general, and he told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers.
That's
My
not
son
what
was
he
not a
said.
loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker.
Oh.
You're the loser.
Oh,
President Trump?
he just called them
First of all,
directly.
that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They
What?
made it up. It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines. He made that up. He put it in commercials. We've notified him. We had 19 people that said I didn't say it. And think of this. Who would say I'm at a cemetery or I'm talking about our veterans? Because nobody's taken better care. I'm so glad this came up, and he brought it up.
Here we go.
There's nobody that's taken better care of our soldiers than I have. To think that I would, in front of generals and others, say suckers and losers. We have 19 people that said It was never said by me. It was made up by him, just like Russia was made up.
Fake
just
news.
like the 51 intelligence agents are made up. Just like the new thing with the 16 economists are talking. It's the same thing. 51 intelligence agents said that the laptop was Russia disinformation. It wasn't.
Biden's
That came
expression.
from his son, Hunter.
I mean,
it wasn't
lost
Russia
its
disinformation. He made up the suckers and losers. So he should apologize to me right now.
Yeah, he just called the
Four-star general standing to your side who was on your staff. He
paused.
said you said it, period. That's number one. And number two, the idea that I have to apologize to you for anything along the line. We've done more for veterans than any president has in American history. History. And they now are in their family. The only sacred obligation we have as a country is to care for our veterans when they come home and their families and equip them when they go to war.
I think the meds are kicking
That's what
in.
they're doing. That's what the VA is doing
Probably
now.
so.
They're doing more for veterans than ever before in our history.
All
We'll
right,
see.
thank you so much.
Let's move to the topic of foreign policy. I want to begin
Mr.
with
Burns.
Russia's war
Foreign policy.
against Ukraine, which is now in its third year. Former President Trump, Russian President Vladimir Putin says he'll only end this war if Russia keeps the Ukrainian territory it has already claimed and Ukraine abandons its bid to join NATO. Are Putin's terms acceptable to you?
First of all, our veterans and our soldiers can't stand this guy. They can't stand him.
Stay on
They
task,
think he's
Joe.
the worst
I mean, stay on
commander-in-chief,
task, Trump.
if that's what you call him, that we've ever had. They can't stand him. So
Stay
let's
on
get that
task.
straight. And they like me more than just about any of them.
Yep.
And that's based on every single bit of information.
Look, here it comes.
As far as Russia and Ukraine, if we had a real president, the president that knew, that was respected by Putin, he would have never invaded Ukraine. A lot of people are dead right now, much more than people know. You know, they talk about numbers. You can double those numbers, maybe triple those numbers. He did nothing to stop it. In fact, I think he encouraged Russia from going in. I'll tell you what happened. He was so bad with Afghanistan. It was such a horrible
Here we go.
embarrassment, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, that when Putin watched that and he saw the incompetence, that he should have fired those generals, like I fired the one that you mentioned. And so he's got no love lost, but he should have fired those generals. No general got fired for the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, Afghanistan, where we left billions of dollars of equipment behind. We lost 13 beautiful soldiers.
100%.
And 38 soldiers were obliterated. And by the way, we left people behind too. We left American citizens behind. When Putin saw that, he said, you know what? I think we're going to go in and maybe take this was his dream. I talked to him about it, his dream. The difference is he never would have invaded Ukraine. Never. Just like Israel would have never been invaded in a million years by Hamas. You know why? Because Iran was broke with me. I wouldn't let anybody do business with them. They ran out of money. They were broke.
Yeah.
They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for anything. No money for terror. That's why you had no terror at all during my
4
administration.
years, no wars.
This place, the whole world is blowing up under him.
Good stuff.
President Biden?
I've never heard so much malarkey in my whole life.
Oh,
The fact of the
come
matter is that
on.
we're in a situation where, let's take the last
Malarkey.
point
That's
first.
2012, brother.
Iran
Right.
attacked American troops, caused brain damage for a number of these troops, and he did nothing
This is
about it.
embarrassing for the
Not when he was
USA.
president. They attacked. He said they're just having headaches. That's all it is. He didn't do a thing when the attack took place, number one. Number two, we got over 100,000 Americans and others out of Afghanistan during that airlift.
100,000.
We found ourselves in a situation where, if you take a look at what Trump did in Ukraine, this guy told Ukraine.
I agree
told
with you,
Trump,
Chad.
Do
I agree with
whatever
this.
you want, and do whatever you want, and that's exactly what Trump did to Putin. Encourage him, do whatever you want, and he went in. And listen to what he said when he went in. He was going to take Kyiv in 5 days. Remember, because it's part of the old
Kyiv?
Soviet Union. That's what he wanted to reestablish. Kyiv. And he, in fact, didn't do it at all. He wasn't able to get it
He
done.
also thinks
And
Mexico
they've
borders
lost
Israel.
they've lost thousands and thousands of troops, 500,000 troops.
Good stuff.
President Trump, as
I never
come back
said
to you
that.
for 1 minute, I just want to go back to my original question, which is, are Putin's terms acceptable to you? Keeping the
No, they're
territory
not
in Ukraine.
acceptable.
Oh, here we
No,
go.
They're not
Come
acceptable.
on.
But look, this is a war that never should have started. If we had a leader in this war, he led everybody along. He's given $200 billion now or more to Ukraine. He's given $200 billion. That's a lot of money. I don't think there's ever been anything like it. Every time that Zelensky comes to this country, he walks away with $60 billion. He's the greatest salesman ever.
Yeah.
And I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking anything. I'm only saying the money that we're spending on this war.
You know, I'm laughing, but I'm really
shouldn't be
crying.
spending- It should
Crying
have
for
never
our country.
happened. I will have that war settled.
I can't believe this
between
guy's our
Putin and
president.
Zelensky as president-elect before I take office on January 20th. I'll have that war settled. People being killed so needlessly, so stupidly, and I will get it settled, and I'll get it settled fast before I take office.
Boom.
President Biden, you have a minute.
He's poised.
The fact
He's
is that
taking
Putin
the
is a
proper
war
time. I
criminal.
love it.
He's killed thousands and thousands of people.
What?
And he has made one thing clear. He wants to reestablish what was part of the Soviet Empire, not just a piece.
What
He
are
wants
you?
all of
Where is
Ukraine.
this coming from?
That's what he wants. And then you think he'll stop there? Do you think he'll stop when if he takes Ukraine? What do you think happens to Poland? What do you think of Belarus? What do you think happens to those NATO countries?
Oh my God!
And so
These
if you
are all
want a war,
terrible
you ought
Obama
to
talking
find
points.
out what he's going to do,
Just
because if
regurgitate.
in fact he does what he says and walks away. By the way, all that money we give Ukraine are from weapons we make here in the United States. We give them the weapons, not the money at this point. And our NATO allies have produced as much funding for Ukraine as we have. That's why we're strong.
Thank you. Moving on to the Middle East.
That was
In
disgusting.
October,
Horrible.
That
Hamas
was just
attacked
absolutely
Israel,
disgusting.
killing more than 1,000 people and
Nothing
taking
he
hundreds
said had
of
any
hostages.
substance.
Among those held and thought to still be alive are 5
I
Americans.
can't believe people are going to vote for this
Israel's
guy.
response
How can
has
you
killed
vote
thousands of
for this
He has a whole
Palestinians and
notepad.
created a humanitarian crisis.
He's not
in
supposed to
Gaza.
have anything, I thought.
President Biden, you've put forward a proposal to resolve this conflict.
I thought that was one of
But
the
so
rules.
far,
thought
Hamas
so
has
too.
not released the remaining hostages, and Israel is continuing its military offensive in Gaza. So what additional leverage
Look at the
will
face,
you
Jason.
use to get Hamas and Israel to end the war? You have 2 minutes.
Number one,
Scary.
everyone from the United Nations Security Council straight through to the G7 to the Israelis and Netanyahu himself have endorsed the plan I put forward. Which has 3 stages to it. The first stage is trade the hostages for a ceasefire. Second phase is a ceasefire with additional conditions. The third phase is the end of the war. The only one who wants the war to continue is Hamas. Number one, they're the only ones standing out. We're still pushing hard.
Okay, thank you, Texan.
To get them to accept. In the meantime, what's happened in Israel? We're trying to say the only thing I've denied Israel was 2,000-pound bombs. They don't work very well in populated areas. They kill a lot of innocent people. We're providing Israel with all the weapons they need and when they need them. And by the way, I'm the guy that organized the world against Iran when they had a full-blown intercontinental ballistic missile attack on Israel. No one was hurt. No one Israeli was accidentally killed, and it just stopped. We saved Israel. We are the biggest producer of support for Israel of anyone in the world. And so there are 2 different things. Hamas cannot be allowed to be continued. We continue to send
This guy needs a nap, man. Put him to sleep.
So how they can get
This
Hamas
guy needs a
like
nap.
they did bin Laden. You don't have to do it. And by the way, they've been greatly weakened, Hamas, greatly weakened, and they should be. They should be eliminated. But you've got to be careful for using certain weapons among population centers.
Just going back to Ukraine for 1 second. We have an ocean separating us. The European nations together have spent $100 billion or maybe more than that, less than us. Why doesn't he call them? So you got to put up your money like I did with NATO. I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. The Secretary General of NATO said Trump did the most incredible job I've ever seen. They wouldn't have any. They were going out of business. We were spending almost 100% of the money was paid by us. He didn't do that. He's getting you got to ask these people to put up the money. We're over $100 billion more spent, and it has a bigger impact on them because of location, because we have an ocean in between. You got to ask them. As far as Israel and Hamas, Israel's the one that wants to go. He said the only one that wants to keep going is Hamas. Actually, Israel is the one, and you should let him go and let him finish the job. He doesn't want to do it. He's become like a Palestinian, but they don't like him because he's a very bad Palestinian. He's a weak one.
President Biden, you have a minute.
I've never heard so much foolishness. This is a guy who wants to get out of NATO. Are you going to stay in NATO? He's going to pull out of NATO. The idea that we have our strength
Why
lies in our
not? NATO is a
alliances as
complete
well.
waste of time and
There
money.
may be a big ocean.
should.
But ever able to avoid a war in Europe, a major war in Europe? What happens if, in fact, you have Putin continue to go into NATO? We have an Article 5 agreement.
Make it sound like he has no.
You want to start
He
the
has
nuclear war? He keeps
no
talking about,
inclination to do that.
let Putin go in and control
Absolutely.
Ukraine, and then move
There's
on
no
to
evidence
Poland
that he
and other
wants to
places.
be like,
What
dominate
happens
the
then?
world.
He has no idea what the hell he's talking about. And by the way, I got 50 other nations around the world to support Ukraine, including Japan and South Korea, because they understand that this kind of dislocation has a serious threat to the whole world peace. No major war in Europe has ever been able to be contained just to Europe.
President Trump, just to follow up, would you support the creation of an independent Palestinian state in order to achieve peace in the region?
I'd have to see. But before we do that, the problem we have is that we spend all the money.
Yeah.
So they kill us on trade. I made great trade deals with the European nations because if you add them up, they're about the same size economically. Their economy is about the same size as the United States. And they were no cars, they don't want anything that we have, but we're supposed to take their cars, their food, their everything, their agriculture. I changed that. But the big thing I changed is they don't want to pay. And the only reason that he can play games with NATO is because I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars.
Here we go.
And he's right about this.
Boom.
I said, no, I'm not going to support NATO if you don't pay. They asked me that question. Would you guard us against Russia at a very secret meeting of the 28 states at that time, nations at that time? And they said, no, if you don't pay, I won't do that. And you know what happened? Billions and billions of dollars came flowing in the next day and the next months. But now we're in the same position. We're paying everybody's bills.
Let's turn to the issue of democracy.
See, he's not going over the time.
Trump, I want to ask you about January 6, 2021. After you rallied your supporters that day, some of them stormed the Capitol to stop the constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes. As president, you swore an oath to, quote, preserve, protect, and defend, unquote, the Constitution. What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again?
What about
I don't think
Pelosi?
too many believe that. And let me tell you about January
What about
6th.
Pelosi?
On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few. On January 6th, we were energy independent.
True.
On January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever. We had the lowest regulations ever. On January 6th, we were respected all over the world. All over the world, we were respected. And then he comes in, and we're now laughed at. We're like a bunch of stupid people. What happened to the United States' reputation under this man's leadership is horrible.
Down the
including
toilet.
Weaponization, which I'm sure at some point you'll be talking about, where he goes after his political opponent because he can't beat him fair and square.
Oh.
You have 80 seconds left. My question was, what do you say to those voters who believe that you violated your constitutional oath through your actions and inaction on January 6, 2021, and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I didn't say that to anybody. I said peacefully and patriotically. And
Law and
Nancy
order.
Pelosi, if
He
you
said,
just watched
yeah,
the news from 2
There it
days
is.
ago,
Pelosi.
on tape to her daughter, who's a documentary filmmaker, they say, but she's saying, oh, no, it's my responsibility. I was responsible for this because I offered her 10,000 soldiers or National Guard, and she turned them down. And the mayor in writing, by the way, the mayor in writing turned it down, the mayor of D.C.
DC, yeah.
They turned it down. I offered 10,000 because I could see I had virtually nothing to do. They asked me to go make a speech.
Okay, so
I could see
far,
what
the
was
only
happening.
person
Everybody
to
was saying
use
they're gonna be
negative
there on
derogatory
January
language is
6th, they're gonna
Biden.
be there.
Biden called
And I
him
said,
a
you know
loser
what?
and
There's
sucker
a lot of
directly.
people coming. You could feel it. You could feel it too, and you could feel it.
Trump
And I
has not
said,
attacked
they
him.
ought to have some National Guard or whatever. And I offered it to her, and she now admits that she turned it down. And it was the same day she was, I don't know, she can't be very happy with her daughter because it made her into a liar.
He's
she said, I
daydreaming.
take
Look at him,
full
Jay. He's daydreaming.
responsibility for January 6th.
President Biden?
Nice.
Look, he encouraged those folks to go up to the Capitol.
Oh.
Number one. I sat in the dining room off the Oval Office. He sat there for 3 hours, 3 hours watching, begging, being begged by his vice president and a number of his colleagues on the Republican
That's
side
true.
as well to do something, to call for a stop, to end it. Instead, they talked about these people being patriots and great patrons of America. In fact, he says he'll now forgive them for what they've done. they've been convicted. He says he wants to commute their sentences and say that no. But he went to every single court in the nation. I don't know how many cases, scores of cases, including the Supreme Court. And they said, no, this guy is responsible for doing what was done. He did do a damn thing. And these people should be in jail. And they should be the ones.
He advocated for law and order,
he
you
wants to let them all
vegetable.
out. And now he says if he loses again, such a whiner that he is, that there could be a
Whiner?
bloodbath.
Thank you, President.
Another
Biden.
name.
He's trying to antagonize.
What they've done to some people that are so innocent, you ought to be ashamed of yourself.
There we
what
go.
You have done, how you've destroyed the lives of so many people.
True.
When they ripped down Portland, when they ripped down
Uh-oh.
many
Yes.
other cities,
Los
you go to
Angeles,
Minnesota,
Chicago.
Minneapolis, what they've done there with the fires all over the city. If I didn't bring in the National Guard, that city would have been destroyed. When you look at all of the, they took over big chunks of Seattle. I was all set to bring in the National Guard. They heard that, they saw them coming, and they left immediately. What he said about this whole subject is so off. Peacefully patriotic. One other thing, the Unselect Committee, which is basically two horrible Republicans that are all gone now, out of office, and Democrats, all Democrats, they destroyed and deleted all of the information they found because they found out we were right.
Nailed it.
We were right. And they deleted and destroyed all of the information. They should go to jail for that. If a Republican did that, they'd go to jail.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, I want to give you a minute.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at.
Oh, here we
And the
go.
fact of the
Sham
matter
trial.
is, what he's telling you is simply not true. The fact is that there was no effort on his part to stop what was going on up in Capitol Hill. And all
That's
those
not
people, every
true.
one of those who were convicted deserves to be convicted. The idea that they didn't kill somebody, just went in and broke down doors, broke the windows, occupied offices, turned over desks, turned them over statues. The idea that those people are patriots, come on. When I asked him the first two debates we had, first time around, I said, will you denounce the Proud Boys? He said, no, I'll tell them to stand by. The idea he's refusing, will you denounce these guys? Will you denounce the people we're talking about now? Will you denounce the people who attacked that Capitol? What are you going to do?
I'm going to give you a minute,
don't even
President Trump,
engage him.
Follow-up question I have.
Use the mute button to your
After a
favor, to
jury
benefit.
convicted you of 34 felonies last month, you said if reelected, you would, quote, have every right to go after, unquote, your political opponents. You just talked about members of the Select Committee on January 6th going to jail. Your main political opponent is standing on stage with you tonight. Can you clarify exactly what it means about you feeling you have every right to go after your political opponents?
Well, I said my retribution is going to be success. We're going to make this country successful again, because right now it's a failing nation. My retribution is going to be success. But when he talks about a convicted felon, his son is a convicted felon.
Hello.
At a very high level.
Shots
His
fired.
son is convicted, going to be convicted probably numerous other times. Should have been convicted before, but his Justice Department let the statute of limitations lapse on the most important things. But he could be a convicted felon as soon as he gets out of office. Joe could be a convicted felon with all of the things that he's done. He's done horrible things. All of the death caused at the border, telling the Ukrainian people that we're going to want $1 billion or you change the prosecutor. Otherwise, you're not getting $1 billion. If I ever said that, that's quid pro quo. That we're not going to do anything. We're not going to give you $1 billion unless you change your prosecutor, having to do with the son. This man is a criminal. This man, you're lucky. You're lucky. I did nothing wrong. We'd have a
Sham
system
trial.
that was rigged and disgusting. I did nothing wrong.
Yep.
Thank you, President Trump.
Very
President
good.
Biden, you have said, I'm coming right to you, sir. You want to respond? Go ahead. I'll give you a minute to respond.
Oh, of course.
The idea
We'll give.
that I did anything wrong relative to what you're talking about is outrageous.
Oh,
It's simply a lie, number one. Number two, the idea that you have a right to seek retribution against any American just because you're president
He didn't
is
say
wrong.
that, though.
It's simply wrong.
Ebenezer
president's ever
Scrooge.
spoken like that before. No president in our history has spoken like that before. Number three, the crimes that you are still charged with, and think of all the civil penalties you have. How many billions of dollars do you owe in civil penalties for molesting a woman in public, for doing a whole range of things, of having sex with a porn star on the night while your wife was pregnant? I mean, what are you talking about? You have the morals of an alley cat.
Another
I didn't have
another
sex with a
slur.
porn star. number one.
Another slur?
Number two, that was a case that was started and moved. They moved a high-ranking official, a DOJ, into the Manhattan DA's office to start that case. That case is going to be appealed and won. We had a very
how many times has he attacked President Trump?
Judge, Democrat.
At least
the
4.
Prosecutor were
At
all
least,
high-ranking
if not more,
Democrats,
right?
appointed people, and
Lost track of my
both
notes,
the
sorry.
civil and the criminal. He basically went after his political opponent because he thought it was going to damage me. But when the public found out about these cases, because they understand it better than he does, he has no idea what these cases are. But when they found out about these cases, you know what they did? My poll numbers went up, way up. You know that because you're reporting it. And we took in more money in the last 2 weeks than we've ever taken in the history of any campaign. I don't think any campaign has ever taken. Hundreds of millions of dollars came pouring in because the public knows it's a scam, and it's a guy that's after his political opponent because he can't win fair and square.
Thank you, President Trump. President
Facts.
Biden,
I love
you
it.
have said,
Beautiful.
quote, Donald Trump and his MAGA Republicans are determined to destroy American democracy. Do you believe
Way to
that the
alienate
tens of
half the
millions of
country.
Americans who are likely to vote for President Trump will be voting against American democracy?
The more they know about what he's done, yes. The
Oh,
more they know about what he's
he
done.
just alienated half
And
the
there's a lot
country.
more coming. He's got a lot of cases down the road coming around. He's got a whole range of issues he has to face. I don't know what the juries will do, but I do know he has a real problem. And so the fact that, could you ever think you hear any president say that I'm going to seek retribution? Do you ever hear any presidents say that I thought Hitler had some good ideas? What got me involved to run in the first place after my son had died, I decided in Iraq, because of Iraq, I said I wasn't going to run again until I saw what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia. People coming out of the woods carrying swastikas on torches, and singing the same anti-Semitic bile they sang when back in Germany. And the young woman got killed. I spoke to the mother, and they asked him, they said, what do you think of those people? The ones who got killed, the one who tried to stop it, and the ones he said, I think they're fine people on both sides. What American president would ever say Nazis coming out of fields carrying torches, singing the same anti-Semitic bile, carrying swastikas were fine people? This is the guy who says Hitler's done
That was
some good
proven
things.
wrong. He didn't say
I'd like
that.
to know what they are. The good things Hitler's done, that's what he said. This guy has no sense of American democracy.
Oh,
President
That's
Trump.
because we're a constitutional
Jake, both
republic.
of you know that story has been totally
well said,
wiped
Jake.
out, because when you see the sentence, it said 100% exoneration on this. So he just keeps it going. He says he ran
Look at his
because of
face.
Charlottesville. He didn't run because of Charlottesville. He ran because it was his last chance. He's not equipped to be president. You know it, and I know it. It's ridiculous. We have a debate. We're trying to justify.
They always
his
cut away
presidency.
because they don't want
His
us to see his
presidency,
face.
he's without question the worst president, the worst presidency in the history of our country. We shouldn't be having a debate about it. There's nothing to debate.
Worst.
He made up the Charlottesville story.
Worst.
And you'll see it's debunked all over the place.
His
Every
reaction.
anchor has, every reasonable anchor.
I actually,
has
I'm
debunked
entertained
it.
by his
And
reaction.
just the other day, it came out where it was fully debunked. It's
Who's he
a
looking at?
nonsense story.
Where
He
is he
knows
looking-
that, and he didn't run because of Charlottesville. He used that as an
sorry.
excuse to run.
President Biden.
And debunk. It happened. All you have to do is listen to what was said at the time.
Wrong.
And the idea that somehow that's the only reason I ran because I was worried a guy like this guy could get elected. If he thought they were good people coming out of that forest,
Wrong.
carrying those
What is he talking
carrying those
about?
torches, then he didn't deserve to be president.
Wrong.
Didn't deserve to be president at all. And the idea that he's talking about all this being
Me
fabricated.
too, Iowa.
We saw with our own eyes. We saw what happened on January 6th. We saw the people breaking through the windows. We saw people occupying the.
He
his own
said
vice
law and
president.
order,
Look,
peace.
there's a reason why.
That's what he
40
said.
of his 44 top cabinet officers
That's my city.
refused to endorse him this time.
All
His
right.
vice president has.
I think they're going on a break in a moment.
So why? Why?
I mean, he needs a break. He definitely.
I
needs a
started
break.
experiencing hair loss
I'm
on
trying to give you a hit.
He
Warning.
definitely needs a break. That's for sure.
That's unequivocal.
Presidential debate.
Oh, they're taking a commercial break right now.
I don't know what this is.
Okay, so first of all, here's what I don't understand. So I want to read this amazing. I want to read this amazing tweet from venture capitalist, respected businessman Bill Ackman. I think this is such a great post here on X. How can anyone in their right mind believe Biden can serve another term? it's not even clear he can finish this term. What is his family? Listen to this. This is even better. What is his family thinking? What are his closest friends when he needs their counsel most? Where are they? Like, I think that's powerful.
I agree.
I think that's very powerful. I mean, he is so, how is this guy? We are the United States of America, Jay. We're supposed to project strength. We're supposed to project confidence. We're supposed to be the leaders of the free world. The whole world is watching this right now. It's not just us. It's not just Americans. People in Australia, Putin's watching this. Kim Jong-un is watching it. Macron is watching this. England is watching this. Germany, all of the people, all our enemies, the Middle East, Iran. I mean, what are they saying when they say they are praying that Trump doesn't win? They're all praying that Trump doesn't win. Jay, what do you think?
No, I agree 100%. I was actually trying to find the rules because I should have screenshotted it when they put it on the screen because I want to see the times because I know that it seems like there's been instances that seem like they've allowed one to talk more than the other. And
it's supposed to be 2 minutes and then a minute rebuttal, but it seems like Biden's breaking all those laws.
It does seem like he's breaking them, but I'm going to do I came in here very, very much worried that 45 was going to come in and be like, again, the petulant child. And I had to say, I don't know if they got a big shot clock back there so he knows when to stop, but he's been poised and he stops right on he's only gone over maybe once or twice. And it wasn't even, it's kind of what you would expect. I'm in the middle of a thought, so I can't just stop. So I'm very proud of that. And I'll say, and Biden stops too, but Biden just kind of rolls to the finish because he ran out of gas, you know, 2 miles ago, and just kind of rolls to a finish. I have no idea what he's talking about, but he's, keeping it within the time frame, which is what I wanted to see, which was, just a clear and concise, a good debate.
Yeah.
And your guy he's in here hot. He knows exactly what he's talking about. I don't know if they gave them the questions before. I don't know who prepared them, but my goodness, in the morning, he is on it. He's on it.
All right, I'm sharing. I love the way you said that. Okay, I'm sharing Fox's simulcast now.
Fox
so we'll see. Yeah. Somebody said China Baby had a great comment, and I agree with what you said too. I want to talk about that for just a second too, Jay. China Baby was telling me that Fox is actually keeping the camera on his expression.
Yes, that's why I jumped over here. I'm like, yo, this is hilarious because they're clearly moving the camera on Biden on purpose.
Yeah,
but now they're stuck on it. Like he's just bang and it's not moving. Yep, that's my city. But
well, no. Here's what I wanted to say really quickly in response to what you said. Are they starting? Oh, hold on a second. Okay, let's go back. Let's go back.
Persistent challenges you both faced in your first terms, and you'd certainly face again in a second term. President Biden, while Black unemployment dropped to a record low under your presidency, Black families still earn far less than white families. Black mothers are still 3 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes, and Black Americans are imprisoned at 5 times the rate of white Americans. What do you say to Black voters who are disappointed that you haven't made more progress?
They acknowledge they made a lot of progress, number one. The fact
that wasn't the question.
More small Black businesses that have been started than any time in history.
Business?
Number 2, the wages of Black unemployment is the lowest level it's been in a long, long time. Number 3, we're providing housing for Black.
I can't understand a word he's saying.
Dealing with the segregation that exists among these corporate
segregation
that collude to keep people out of their houses. And in addition to that, we find that the impact.
He's looking at notes.
The choice that Black families have to make relative to childcare is incredibly difficult. When we did the first major piece of legislation in the past, I was able to reduce Black child care costs. I cut them in half. We got to make sure we provide for child care costs. We got to make sure, because when you provide
that's not a duty of the state.
These are just empty platitudes, man.
Because more people can be in the job market. So
he doesn't mean a word of this. There's no conviction.
No. But we've done a great deal so far, and I'm not letting up, and they know it.
You have 49 seconds left. What do you say to Black voters who are disappointed?
Can you actually answer the question?
I say I don't blame them for being disappointed. Inflation is still hurting them badly.
Wait a minute. I thought inflation was done.
Idea that Any
I thought the
black
economy
family,
was wonderful.
First-time home buyer should get a $10,000 tax credit.
Look
to be able
at
to
his
buy their
face.
First home.
Trump
They
is
can
ready to
get
jump on
started.
all over this
I
thing.
made sure that we're in a situation where all those black families and those black individuals who provided had to take out student loans that were
What are you?
ballooning,
I don't
that had
understand
to
a
pay for
word of
white
this
days
drivel.
and nursing, doctor, and anything having to do with
I
volunteerism.
don't understand
If
you,
they
dude.
paid their bills for 10 years on their student debt, all the rest is forgiven after 10 years. Millions have benefited from that. And we're going to do a whole lot more for black families.
Thank you,
Makes
President Trump.
no sense.
And he caused the inflation.
Hello.
He's
Oh,
blaming
shots
inflation.
fired.
Hello.
And he's right. It's been very bad.
Hello.
He caused the inflation, and it's killing black families and Hispanic families and just about everybody.
Every family.
It's killing people.
We're all
They
Americans.
can't buy groceries anymore. They can't. You look at
Hello.
the cost of food where it's doubled and tripled and quadrupled. They can't live. They're not living anymore. He caused this inflation. I gave him a country with essentially no inflation. It was perfect. It was so good. All he had to do is leave it alone. He destroyed it with his Green New scam and all this money that's being thrown out the window. He caused inflation. As sure as you're sitting there, the fact is that his big kill on the black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking black jobs now, and it could be 18, it could be 19, and even 20 million people. They're taking black jobs and they're taking Hispanic jobs, and you haven't seen it yet, but you're going to see something that's going to be the worst in our history.
Thank you. President Biden.
There was no inflation when I became president. You know why? The economy was flat on its back. 15% unemployment.
Angry
He
Biden's back.
decimated the economy. Absolutely decimated the
No,
economy.
COVID did.
That's why there was no
COVID
inflation
did, not
at the
him.
time. There were no jobs. We provided thousands of millions of jobs for individuals who are in all communities, including minority communities. We made sure that they have health insurance. We have covered, if the ACA has increased, I made sure that they're $8,000 per person in a family to get written off for health care. But this guy wants to eliminate that. They tried 50 times. He wants to get rid of the ACA again.
We never said
And
that.
they're going to try again.
We never said that.
We find ourselves in a position where the idea that we're not doing any, we put more police on the street than any administration has. He wants to cut the cops. We're providing for equity and making sure people have a shot to make it. There's a lot going on, but in inflation, he caused it.
No, he
by his
didn't.
Tremendous.
That's just not true.
Malfeasance in the way he handled the pandemic.
Thank you.
Malfeasance?
Another persistent challenge is the climate crisis.
You notice how CNN never
2023 was
follows
the
up?
hottest year in recorded history, and
never call
communities
them out.
across the country are confronting the devastating effects of extreme heat, intensifying wildfires,
This is why they didn't want us to
stronger
go live on
hurricanes,
YouTube.
and rising sea
Right.
levels.
I know fully
Former
why.
President Trump, you've vowed to end your opponent's climate initiatives, but will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
Oh,
Let me
give
just
a
go back
break.
to what he said
Yeah,
about
please,
the police.
please.
How close the police are to
Something
him.
that's important.
Almost every police group in the nation from every state is supporting Donald J. Trump. Almost every police
Look
group.
at him. He look mad.
And what he's done
That's
to the
true.
black
That's true.
population is horrible, including the fact that for 10 years he called them
Firefighters,
super predators. We
police.
can't, in the 1990s, we can't forget that. Super
Look at his
predators
face.
was his name, and he called it to them for 10, and they've taken great offense at it, and now they see it happening. But when they see what I did for criminal justice reform and for the historically black colleges and universities, where I funded
Facts.
them and got them all funded, and the opportunity zones with Tim, as you know, Tim Scott was incredible. He did a great job. Great senator from South Carolina.
Potential VP
He
pick.
came to me with the idea, and it was a great idea. It's one of the most successful economic development acts ever in the country, opportunity zones. And the biggest beneficiary are blacks. And that's why we have the best numbers with them in maybe ever. They're saying ever. I read this morning where ever, the best numbers. He's lost much of the black population because he's done a horrible job for black people. He's also done a horrible job for Hispanics. But wait till you see these millions of people pouring into our country, and they're going to take the
guys
jobs.
notice
And it's already
that
started, and you haven't seen anything
When
yet. It's a
Biden mumbles,
disaster.
Jake Tapper
38 seconds
comes in.
left. President Trump, will you take any action as
No,
president to
'cause it's a
slow the
grift.
climate crisis?
So I want absolutely immaculate clean water, and I want absolutely clean air. And we had it. We had H2O. We had the best numbers ever, and we were using all forms of energy, all
Yeah.
forms,
Yeah.
everything. And yet, during my 4 years, I had the best environmental numbers ever. And my
That's it.
top environmental people gave me that statistic just before I walked on the stage, actually.
Hello.
Good timing.
I don't know where the hell he's been. The idea
Don't fall
that
for
he
it.
said is true. I passed
Jay,
the
who
most
is this guy,
extensive-
Jay?
the most extensive climate change legislation in history.
Who is
In
this
history.
man?
We find ourselves, and by the way, black colleges. I came up with $15 billion for HBCUs, historic black
No, you
universities and
didn't.
colleges.
I went
because
to
they
one.
don't
You're a
have-
liar.
They don't have the kind
Through
of
his teeth, man.
contributors that they have to build these laboratories and the like. Any black student is capable in college of doing any white student can do. They just don't have the money, but now they'll be able to get those.
I didn't understand a
jobs
word
in
you
high
just
tech.
said, bro.
We're in a situation where the idea that
What the hell
he
was
is
that all about?
claiming to have done something that had the cleanest water, he hadn't done a damn thing with the environment.
What?
He pulled out of the Paris Peace Accord, Climate Accord. I immediately joined it because if we reach 1.5 degrees Celsius at any one point, there's no way back.
I don't
The only
mind it getting a
existential threat
degree
to
warmer.
humanity
You?
is climate change.
What's the
If we
ideal
do damn thing
temperature?
about it, he wants to undo all that I've done.
I mean, I didn't.
Paris Accord was
I
going
didn't
to cost
expect
us
to
$1
laugh
trillion,
this much. This is laughable.
and China nothing, and Russia nothing, and
Yeah.
India nothing. It was a ripoff of the United States. And I ended it because I didn't want to waste that money because they treat us
Good.
horribly. We were the only ones who was costing us money. Nobody else was paying it.
How about America
And
first?
It was a
There's a new thought.
disaster. But everything that he said just now, I'll give you an example. I heard him say before insulin. I'm the one that got the insulin down for the seniors.
Yeah.
I took care of the seniors.
Yeah.
What he's doing is destroying all of our medical
Look at the
programs
slow
because the migrants coming in, they want everybody. And look, I have the biggest heart on the stage. I guarantee you that. And I want to take care of people. But we're destroying our country.
It's
They're
true.
taking over our schools, our hospitals, and they're going to be taking over Social Security. He is destroying Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
Wow.
The idea is that
He's very tempered
we, in
tonight. I love it.
fact,
Extremely.
We were the only
That's the
ones
word.
we're not members of the Paris Accord. How can we do anything if we're not able to? The United States can't get its under control. One of the largest polluters in the world, number one. We're making significant progress. By 2035,
He just picked
we
his
will have
nose. He just
pollution in
picked his
half.
nose on live
We have
TV.
we have made significant progress.
The whole world is
We're
watching.
continue to make progress. We set up a climate corps for thousands of young people will learn how to deal with climate, just like the Peace Corps. And we're moving in directions that are going to significantly change the elements of cause of pollution. But the idea that he claims that he has the biggest heart up here and he's really concerned about pollution and about climate, I've not seen any
Pollution?
indication of that.
Did he say
And by
pollution?
the way, with
I
regard
don't
to
think so.
prescription drugs, one company
Oh, it's like
agreed that they
It's
would
like a train
reduce the
wreck.
price to $35, which I was calling for, one voluntarily.
Booger
I
Sugar
made
Joe.
sure every company in the world, every pharmaceutical company cannot have to pay.
Thank you.
And
Yeah,
by the way,
see you later. Yeah, Biden, go back to
Still
sleep.
talking.
Thanks.
See?
So every day, millions of Americans struggle just to make ends meet. For many older Americans, Social Security provides a critical lifeline. President Biden, if nothing is done to Social Security, seniors will see their benefits cut in just over 10 years. Will you name tonight one specific step that you're willing to take to keep Social Security
Oh, here
solvent?
it comes.
yes, make the very wealthy begin to pay their fair share. Right
I
now,
was just set up by
everybody
fake
making
crapper.
under $170,000
Total setup.
pays
He got the
6%
questions.
of their income.
He got
of
the
their
questions.
paycheck
I
every
guarantee
single
you.
time they get a paycheck from the time the first one they get when they're 18 years old.
He was ready to answer
The
that.
idea that they're gonna, I'm proposing that everybody, the millionaires pay 1%. So no one I would not raise the cost
That's
of
not
Social
true.
Security for anybody.
Wait, they
under
don't play. They pay more than
$400,000. After that,
1%.
I began to make the wealthy begin to pay their fair share.
Trump's
And
trying not to
pushing
laugh.
1% beyond to be able to guarantee the program for life.
So you still have 82 seconds left. Are there any other measures that you think that would be able to help keep Social Security solvent? Or is
That
just-
scared
is
the
that
crap
one
out of
enough?
him. I go,
no,
what?
That one enough will keep it solvent. But the biggest thing I'll do if we defeat this man, because he wants to get rid of Social Security. He thinks there's plenty to cut in Social Security. He's wanting to cut
Wants to
Social
get rid of
Security
most
and Medicare
bureaucracy.
both times. And that's
Which is
what,
actually
and
a
if you
good
look
thing.
at the program put forward by the House Republican caucus that I believe supports, is in fact want to cut it as well. The idea that we don't need to protect our seniors is ridiculous. and by the way,
Never said that.
American public has greater health care coverage today than ever before. And on the ACA, as I said, you're in a circumstance where 400,000 people, 40 million people would not have insurance because they have a pre-existing condition. Only thing allows them to
What
have
did
that
Trump have to
insurance
do with that?
is
That was
the fact
Obama.
that they, in fact, are
you're
part
right.
of the ACA.
That has nothing to do with
And
Trump.
by the way, the other thing is we're in a situation where talk
Oh,
about
God.
education for
Another thing.
Black communities. I've raised the amount of money for Pell Grants, another $8,000. So anybody making under $70,000 a year is going to be able to get $15,000 toward their tuition. He just doesn't know what he's talking about.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump.
So I've dealt with politicians all my life. I've been on this side of the equation for the last 8 years. I've never seen anybody lie like this guy. He lies. I've never seen it. He could look you in the face.
There you go.
About
Boom.
So many other
Boom.
things too. And we mentioned the laptop. We mentioned Russia, Ukraine. Everything he does is a lie.
You called
It's
it.
misinformation and disinformation. The losers and suckers story that he made up is a total lie on the military. It's a disgrace. But Social Security, he's destroying it because millions of people are pouring into our country.
Was he reading
and they're
on that
putting
note?
them
I'm
onto
sorry, he ain't
Social
writing no
Security. They're putting them onto Medicare, Medicaid. They're putting them in our hospitals. They're taking the place of our citizens. What they're doing to the VA, to our veterans, is unbelievable. Our veterans are living in the street, and these people are living in luxury hotels. He doesn't know what he's doing. And
No.
it's really coming back. I've never seen such anger in our country before.
President Biden.
It's true.
The idea that veterans are not being taken care of, I told you before. And by the way, when I said suckers and losers, he acknowledged after that he fired that general. That general got fired because he's the one that acknowledged that that's what he said. He was the one standing with Trump when he said it, number one. Number two, the idea that we're going to be in a situation where all these millions and millions, the way he talks about it, illegal aliens are coming into the country and taking away our jobs. There's a reason why we have the fastest growing economy in the world, the reason why we have the most successful economy in the world. We're doing better than any other nation in the world. And by the way, those 15 Nobel laureates he talked about being phony, those 15 Nobel laureates, economists, they all said that if Trump is reelected, we're likely to have a recession and inflation is going to increasingly go up. And by the way, worst president in history, 159 presidential scholars voted.
Oh, that was a hoax.
President in the history of the United
That was
States
a
of
hoax.
President Biden, thank
That
you so
was
much. Let's
BS.
turn to the cost of child care, which many American families struggle to afford. President
Not a duty
Trump,
of the
both you
state.
and President Biden have tried to address this issue, but the average cost of child care in this country has risen to more than $11,000 a year per child. For many families, the cost of child care for 2 children is more than their rent. In your second term, what would you do to make child care more affordable?
Just to go back,
the economy
the
great.
general got fired because he was no good. And if he said that, that's why he made it up. But we have 19 people that said I didn't say it, and they're very highly respected, much more so than him.
I love it.
The other thing
What
is
kind of face is that, Jay?
he doesn't fire people.
Jay, what kind of face is that?
He never fired people.
Face of a
I've never
lost
seen him fire
human.
anybody. I did fire a lot. I fired
A
Comey
lost
because he
puppy.
was no good. I fired a lot of the top
Oh, he's
people
picking his ear
at
now,
the
too.
FBI, drained the swamp. They were no good.
Help me out.
Not easy to fire people. You'd pay a price for it, but they were no good. I inherited these people. I didn't put them there. I didn't put Comey there. He was no good. I fired him. This guy hasn't fired anybody. He never fires.
And he actually
He
should
should
have
have fired every military man that was involved with that
He should have.
Afghanistan horror show, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. He didn't fire. Did you fire anybody?
No.
Did you fire anybody that's on the border that's allowed us to have the worst border in the history of the world? Did anybody get fired for allowing 18 million people?
There you
Many
go.
from prisons, many from,
There you go.
from
Boom.
mental institutions. Did you fire anybody that allowed our country to be
Oh, he gave him
destroyed?
raises.
Joe, our country is
Gave him-
being destroyed as
Yeah.
you and I sit up here and waste a lot of time on this debate.
Oh,
this shouldn't be a debate.
yes. He's
He's the
bringing it
worst
home,
president.
Daddy.
He just said about me
He's
because I
bringing it
said
home.
it. But look, he's the worst president in the history of our country. He's destroyed our country. Now all of a sudden he's trying to get a little tough on the border. He
That's what he
came
needs.
out
We
with
need
a,
somebody with
a
balls.
nothing. a
Everybody
nothing
type
deal,
balls
and
in
he
the
reduced
comments
it
right now.
a little bit, like
None of
this
this
much.
weak
It's
crap, man. This
insignificant.
weakness.
He wants open borders. He wants our country to either be destroyed or he wants to pick up those
Jay,
people
you're right on top
as
of it, Jay. I
voters.
love it.
And I don't think we just can't let it happen. If he wins this election, our country doesn't have a chance, not
True.
even a chance
True.
of coming out of this rut. We probably won't have a country left anymore. That's how
Mic
bad
drop.
it is.
Mic
He's the
drop.
worst in history by far.
That's a mic
Thank you,
drop.
President Trump. President Biden?
We are the most admired country in the world. We're the
Not because of
United
you.
States of America. There's nothing beyond our capacity.
Not
We're
because
the
of you.
finest military in the history of the world. The finest in the history of the world. No one thinks we're weak. No one wants to screw around with us. Nobody.
Oh, really?
Number one.
What about Iran?
Number two, the
Right.
idea that we're talking
What
about
about
worst
Russia?
presidents. I wasn't joking. Look it up or go online. 159 or 58.
Why are you
don't hold
going
the
back
exact
to
number.
that? You're just attacking
Presidential
empty
historians.
crap.
They've had meetings and they voted.
He has
Who
no
was the
policies.
worst president in American history. One through best to worst. They said he was the worst in all of American history. That's a fact. That's not
Well, that's not a
conjecture.
fact. That's an
You can argue
opinion.
they're wrong, but that's what they voted.
By stupid
The idea that
scholars.
he is doing anything to deal with child care.
These are the same people who
He
run
did
our
very
universities who are in a
virtually nothing
freaking
with child
train
care.
wreck too.
We should significantly increase the child care tax credit. We should
I know 'em. I
significantly
worked at the
increase
university.
availability of women and men or single parents to be able to go back to work. And we should encourage businesses to have
Thank you, President
child care
Biden.
facilities.
There you
President
go,
Trump's
see?
question was about what would you do to make childcare more affordable, if you want to take your minute.
Just so you understand, we have polling, we have other things that they rate him the worst because what he's done is so bad. And they rate me, I'll show you. I will show you. And they rate me one of the best, okay?
He's interrupting.
And if I'm given
Oh, there's
another
that
4
creepy
years,
smile and
I will
laugh.
be the best. I think I'll be the best. Nobody's ever created an economy like us. Nobody ever cut
What's
taxes
wrong with
like
his
us.
face?
He's the only one I know. He wants to raise your taxes by 4 times. He wants to raise everybody's taxes by 4 times. He wants the Trump tax cuts to expire. So everybody, including the two of you, are going to pay 4 to 5 times. Nobody
Including
ever
the
heard
two
this
of you.
before. All my life, I grow up and I see politicians talking about
I love
cutting
it.
taxes. When we cut taxes, as I said, we did more business. Apple and all these companies,
That's true, Mike.
they were
Come
bringing
on.
money back into our country. The worst president in history by far, and everybody knows it.
President Biden?
Look, the fact of
He
the
didn't
matter
answer
is
Tapper's
that
question. I
wrong
love it.
about he's increased the tariff. He will increase the taxes on middle class people.
Excuse
I
me?
said I'd never raise a tax on anybody making less than $400,000. I didn't. But this tariff is 10% tariffs. Everything coming into the country, you know what the economists say? That's going to cost the average American $2,500 a year more because they're going to have to pay the difference in food and all the things that are very important. Number two, he's in a situation where he talks about how he has not raised, he's somehow helped the middle class. The middle class have been devastated by you. Now you want a
So
new
what
tax
did he
cut
just
of
say,
$5
Jay? I'm
trillion
confused.
over the next 10
I have no
years,
idea.
which is going to fundamentally bankrupt the country.
Can anybody
We have
make
the
sense
largest
of this
deficit
in the
of any
comments?
president in American history, number one. Number two, you have not, in fact, made any contact, any progress with China. We are at the lowest trade deficit with China since 2010.
Thank you,
We're at the
President
highest.
Biden.
You lost
Thank you,
go.
President Biden. Let's discuss an epidemic impacting millions of Americans that both of you have made a top priority in your first term, the opioid crisis. And for both of you, the number of overdose deaths in this country has gone up. Under your term, it went up. Under your term, it has gone up. Former President
How
Trump,
much,
despite
though?
the efforts that both of you have made,
Yeah.
more than 100,000 Americans are dying from overdoses every year, primarily from fentanyl and other opioids. What will you do to help Americans
Close the
right
border.
now in the throes of addiction
Close the
who are
damn
struggling
border.
to get the treatment they need?
To finish up, we now have the largest deficit in the history of our country under this guy.
Yep.
We have the largest deficit with China. He gets paid by China. He's a Manchurian candidate. He gets
There you
money
go.
from China. So I think he's afraid to deal with them or something. But do you notice he never took out my tariffs because we bring in so much money with the tariffs that I imposed on China. He never took them away. He can't because it's too much money. It's tremendous. And we saved our steel industries and there was more to come, but he hasn't done that. But he hasn't cut the tariffs because he can't, because it's too much money. But he's got the largest deficit in the history of our country, and he's got the worst situation with China. China's going to own us if you keep allowing them to do what they're doing to us as a country. They are killing us as a country, Joe, and you can't let that happen. You're destroying our country.
So, President Trump, you have 67 seconds left. The question was, what are you going to do to help Americans in the throes of addiction right now who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
Close
I
the
think we're
border.
doing very well at addiction until the COVID came along. We had the
Vote
2.5,
COVID.
almost 3 years of like nobody's ever had before, any country in every way. And then we had to get tough. And it was the drugs pouring across the border it started to increase. We got great equipment. We bought the certain dog that's the most incredible thing that you've ever seen, the way they can spot it. We did a lot, and we were getting very low numbers, very, very low numbers. Then he
We're
came
beautiful.
along. The numbers, have you seen the numbers now?
Close the
beautiful.
border. Just say it.
People that I believe is even low because
How do you not love this
gotaways,
guy?
they
How
don't
do you
even
not
talk
love
about
this guy?
gotaways.
He's doing a great job.
But the numbers of the amount of drugs and human trafficking in women coming across our border, the worst thing I've ever seen, at numbers that nobody's ever seen under him because the border's so bad. But the number of drugs coming across our border now is the largest we've ever had by far.
President Trump, thank you. President Biden?
Fentanyl and the byproducts of fentanyl went down for a while. And I wanted to make sure
give
we're
us
using
specifics.
machinery that can detect fentanyl. These big machines that roll over everything.
Oh, the
that
meds
comes
are
across
kicking
the
in. Look
border.
at the eyes, Jay.
And it costs a lot of money. That was part of this deal we put together.
Whoa.
It's a bipartisan deal. More fentanyl machines, more be able to detect drugs, more numbers of agents, more numbers of all the people at the border. And when we had that deal done, he called his Republican colleagues, said, "Don't do it. It's going to hurt me politically." No, he never argued
man,
it's
this
not a
is
good
sad.
bill. It's a really good
It's
bill.
just sad.
Where do you get
need
that
those
from?
Machines. We need those machines. And we're coming down very hard in every country in Asia in terms of precursors for fentanyl. And Mexico is working with us to make sure they don't have the technology to be able to put it together. That's what we have to do. We need those machines.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, and again, the question is about Americans in the throes of addiction right now struggling to get the treatment they need.
Well, this does pertain to it.
He just
ended
answered.
remain in
You
Mexico.
follow up with Trump, but not
He ended
Biden?
catch and release.
And
I made a
CNN
catch
is
and release
just
in
whack.
Mexico, not catch and release here. We had so many things that we had done, hard negotiations with Mexico, and I got it all for nothing. It's just like when you have a hostage, we always pay $6 billion for a hostage. Every time we say it's a hostage. Now we have a hostage, a Wall Street Journal reporter, I think a good guy, and he's over there because Putin is laughing at this guy, probably asking for billions of dollars for the reporter. I will have him out very quickly as soon as I take office. Before I take office, I said by literally as soon as I win the election, I will have that reporter out. He should have had him out a long time ago, but Putin's probably asking for billions and billions of dollars because this guy pays it every time. We had 2 cases where we paid $6 billion for 5 people. I got 58 people out and I paid essentially nothing.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
Let's turn to concerns that voters have about each of you. President Biden, you would be 86 at the end of your second term. How do you address concerns about your capability to handle the toughest job in the world well into your 80s?
Well, first of all, I spent half my career being criticized being the youngest person in politics. I was the second youngest person ever elected to the United States Senate, and now I'm the oldest. This guy's 3 years younger and a lot less competent. I think that just look at the
Have you heard of the word
look what I've
retirement?
done. Look, I've turned around the horrible situation he left me. As I said, 15 million new jobs, 800,000 manufacturing jobs, more investment in America, over billions of dollars in private investment in enterprises that we are growing. By the way, we brought off a lot of people. Well, the whole idea of computer chips, we used to have 40% of the market. We invented those chips, and we lost it because he was sending people to find the cheapest jobs overseas and then bring home a product. So I went to South Korea. I convinced Samsung to invest billions of dollars here in the United States. And guess what? Those fabs they call that to build these chips, those fabs pay over $100,000. You don't need a college degree for them. And there's
They ask about you, sir.
About $40 billion already being invested and being built right now in the United States, creating significant jobs for Americans from all over the world.
President Biden, you have 40 seconds
I mean,
left.
the idea of
Would you
this
like to
guy
add
serving
anything?
another
Yeah,
term
I
is
would.
absurd.
The idea that somehow we are this failing country. I never heard a president talk like this.
What about you, though?
We're the envy of the world. Name me a single
Not
major
because of you.
country president.
Yeah, we're the envy
It's
of the
right
world,
there,
not
so it's
because
the
of
United
you.
States of America. For all our problems and all our opportunities. We're the most progressive country in the world in getting things done. We're the strongest country in the world. We're a country in the world who keeps our word, and everybody trusts us. All of our allies and our those who he coddles up to, from Kim Jong-un, he sends love letters to, and Putin, etc. They don't
He
want to
doesn't
screw
send
around.
love letters. I mean, really?
Thank you.
Love letters.
Former President Trump, to follow up, you would be 82 at the end of your second term. What do you say to voters who have concerns about your capabilities?
Just listen to him.
Well, I took 2 tests, cognitive tests. I aced them, both of them, as you know. We made it public.
Now we're
He took
talking.
none. I'd like to see him take one, just one.
Just
a
one.
real easy one.
Just
Yeah,
one.
go through the first 5 questions. He couldn't do it. But I took 2 cognitive tests. I took physical exams every year. And, we knock on wood wherever we may have wood, that I'm in very good health. I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be
Biden
quite
couldn't win a
smart,
club
and
sandwich.
you have to be able to hit the ball a long way. And I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that I'm as in good a shape as I was 25, 30 years ago. Actually, I'm probably a little bit lighter, but I'm in as good a shape as I was years ago. I feel very good. I feel the same. But I was willing to take a cognitive test. And you know what? If I didn't do well, I
How about a
aced
drug
them.
test?
Dr. Ronnie Jackson.
He was
who's
also willing to take a
great
drug
guy
test.
when he was White House
Absolutely.
doctor. And then I took another one, a similar one. And one of them said they've never seen anybody ace him.
Thank you. President
go.
Biden?
You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds, or 235 pounds. Well, you said 6'4".
Because Mike's muted.
200.
Stop. Oh my gosh.
Well, anyway, that's what you're. Anyway, just take a look at what he says he is.
You
and
just look
take
like a
look at what he
fool,
is.
Biden.
Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. But by the way,
Oh, Trump wants to
that's
say
what
something
you
so bad
Don't
he
say that.
can't.
carry your own
He
bag.
wants to say something.
Think you can do it?
That's the biggest rival. He's a 6 handicap of all.
I was at 8 handicap.
Yeah.
8.
Never.
But I had, you know how many?
Oh, this is
I've seen you
pathetic,
sweat.
man.
Don't give into it. Don't give
Okay,
into
let's-
it.
You know,
Let's
you know
not
how
act
many
like
rounds-
children.
President Trump, we're going to
21
turn
Let's
Right.
not act like children.
Yeah,
You
to
are
a
a child.
He's
specific
right.
concern
he's
that
right.
voters have about
Let's
you.
not act like children.
Will you pledge tonight that once all legal challenges have been exhausted, that you will accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins, and you will say right now that political violence in any form is unacceptable?
You're the one. You're
Well,
the
I shouldn't
party of
have to say that,
violence.
but of course I believe that. It's totally
You're the party of
unacceptable.
violence.
And if you would see my statements that I made on Twitter at the time, and also my statement that I made in the Rose Garden, you would say it's one of the strongest statements you've ever seen. In
Yeah.
addition to the speech I made in front of, I believe, the largest crowd I've ever spoken to. And I will tell you, nobody ever talks about that. They talk about a relatively small number of people that went to the Capitol and in many cases were ushered in by the police. And as Nancy Pelosi said, it was her responsibility, not mine. She said that loud and clear. But the answer is, if the election is fair, free, and I want that more than anybody.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something. I wish he was a great president because I wouldn't be here right now.
There you
I'd be
go.
at
Oh,
There
many
you go.
places enjoying myself.
He's right.
I wouldn't be under indictment because I wouldn't
He's
have been his
right.
political appointment.
Oh, this is so good.
Because he indicted me
This is so
because I
good.
was his opponent. I wish he was a great president. I would rather have that. I wouldn't be here. I don't mind being here. But the only reason I'm here is he's so bad as a president that I'm going to make America great again. We're
Hello.
going to make America great again.
Hello.
stop right there. Just
We're
stop.
a failing nation right now. We're a seriously failing
Just stop.
nation. And
He's
we're a
nailed
failing nation because
Nailed
of
it.
him. His policies are so bad. His military
Still has
policies
time though on the
are
clock.
He's still got-
insane. They're insane. These are wars that will never end with him. He will drive us into World
he
War
just signed
III.
a
And
10-year
we're
deal
closer
with
to
Zelensky.
World War III than anybody can imagine. We are very, very close to World War III, and he's driving us there. And Kim Jong-un and President Xi of China, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, all of these, Putin, they don't respect him. They don't fear him. They have nothing going with this gentleman, and he's going to drive us into World War III.
You want a World War III, let him follow and win, and let Putin say, do what you want, NATO. Just do what you want. There's a thing called Article 5.
That's not what he said.
Attack on one is attack
That's
on
not
all.
what he said.
Required response. The idea the idea. I can't think of a single major leader in the world who wouldn't trade places with the job I've done, what they've done. Because we're a
Excuse me?
powerful nation.
Wait.
We have wonderful.
Wait, I didn't
it's because
understand.
of the
Did you understand that, Jay?
Not me. It's because of the American people. They're capable of anything. And they
Name
step up
one
and
leader
they're
that would
needed.
want to
And right now,
substitute
we're
themselves
needed.
with me.
We're needed to protect the world because there's
He's
our
so
own
amazing.
interests at stake. And
I
again,
didn't
we
understand
want to
that.
have a war. Just let Putin go ahead and take Kyiv. Make sure they
Kyiv?
move
Kyiv.
on. See what happens in Poland, Hungary, and other places
So
along that border.
sad. It's so
Then you
sad.
have a war.
President Trump, as I come back
actually
to
feel
you
sorry
for a
for him.
follow-up, the question was, will you accept the results of this election?
Yes, he said
regardless of
yes.
He
who
said
Why are
yes.
you?
Just to finish.
Why
what
don't you
said,
ever
if I
follow
might,
up with Tombstone Biden?
Russia, they took a lot of land from Bush. They took a lot of land from Obama and Biden.
Yeah.
They took no land, nothing from Trump. Nothing.
Hello.
He knew not to do it.
Boom.
Just say
He's
that
not
you
going to
accept
play
the.
games with me. He knew that. I got along with him very well, but
He
he knew
said
not
if
to play
it's
games.
fair, I want it. He said
took
I don't
nothing
want to
did
be
say
from
here.
me.
He said
Say
I don't even
again.
want to
Now
be
he's gonna
here. If
take
it
the
wasn't for
whole
him being
thing
such a crappy
from
president.
This man right here. That's a war that should have never started. It
Yeah.
would have never started ever with me.
Putin would not have attacked.
And he's going
Guaranteed.
to take Ukraine.
Guaranteed.
And you know,
I'll
you
put
asked me a
5
question
on that.
before. Would you do this with? He's got us in such a bad position right now with Ukraine and Russia, because Ukraine's not winning that war. He
They're
said, "I will
not.
never settle until such time." They're running out of people. They're running out of soldiers. They've lost so many people.
Every
It's
military
so sad.
expert has actually
They've
corroborated
lost
this.
so many people, and they've lost those gorgeous cities with the golden domes that are 1,000 years old, all because of him and stupid decisions. Russia would have never attacked if I were
President Trump,
president.
the question was, will
Oh,
you accept
see,
the
here we
results
go.
of the election,
Yes.
regardless of who
Oh,
wins?
Dana
yes or no,
Crash,
please?
shut up.
If it's a fair
He
and
said
legal
that.
and good election, absolutely.
He said
I would
that.
have much rather
Shut up,
accepted
Dana.
these, but the fraud and everything
apologize.
else
I don't
was
mean to be rude.
ridiculous. And if you want, we'll have a news conference on it in a week, or we'll have another one of these in a week. But I will absolutely. There's nothing I'd rather do. It would be much easier for me to do that than I'm running again. I wasn't really going to run until I saw the horrible job he did.
Boom.
He's destroying our country.
Boom.
I would be very happy to be someplace else, in a nice location someplace. And again, no indictments, no political opponent stuff, because it's the only
No
way he
kangaroo
thinks he
court.
can win. But unfortunately, it's driven up my numbers and driven them up to a very high level because the
Hello.
people
Stop.
understand it.
Let's see what your numbers are when this election is over. Let's see. You're
Oh,
whining.
Wait, why does he have a
You
mic?
lost the first time. You continued. You
That was
appealed and
immediate,
appealed in
too.
courts all across the country. Not one single court in America said any of your claims had any merit, state or local, none. But you continue to provoke this lie.
by the
that
way,
somehow there's
Hillary
all this
denied the election.
Representation. All
So
this
did,
stuff.
Remember
Um,
2016?
There's no
Al
evidence
Gore did.
at all. And I tell you what,
The whole
Stacey
entire
Abrams
Obama
did.
consortium.
because
Yeah.
you're such a whiner. The idea, if you
Oh,
lose
another
again,
another
you're
attack.
accepting
Do
anything,
you see that,
you
Jay?
can't stand the loss. Something
Yeah.
snapped in you when you lost the last.
Snapped.
Okay.
Something
We'll be
snapped.
right back. with
Wait a
more
minute. Wait a
from the
minute. You don't
CNN
follow up.
presidential
Hold on.
debate
Hold on. Wait a
live
minute.
From Georgia.
Okay,
I have no
wait a
idea
minute.
it's
That
working.
doesn't make any sense, Jay. Hey, Jay, that doesn't make any sense. She followed up with him 5 times. No.
She did.
Excuse me, Mr. Trump. The question is, and you let that vegetable get, Jay, what do you think about that?
Well, we knew that this was going to be stacked, but I'm going to have to push back a little bit, Nez. They're not as bad as I thought they were going to be, especially with the muting of the mic and stuff like that. But again, I think the problem is 45 came in extremely tempered.
Yes.
He's I don't know if he's been praying. I don't know if he's been like really relaxing or something. He is really not giving them what they want, which is him to be super energetic, all disrespectful and all, bombastic. He is measured and he knows exactly what he's talking about. He's looking in the camera, in the eyes of the moderators. They did not expect this. And Biden is, I really think part of his confusion is they expected, maybe even trained for him to be all obnoxious. And he's almost like, well, what do I do? He's all
Right.
calm. I don't know what to do. I really think I can't
Trump
say
is
emphatically.
Trump is doing the right thing.
I
He's
think
doing
Trump
the right
is throwing
thing.
his whole thing off.
Yes,
It-
and
it-
also, I agree with what you're saying about the moderators. But I will say this: in the beginning, it seemed like the moderators were faithful to what you just said.
Right. The back
They
and
were
forth.
they were not as bad as I thought they were. But now you could almost sense like they got some kind of word from a producer. Obama just called. He's losing, so we got to cut off Trump, follow up with him, hammer him harder on questions, and let Biden go. You could almost sense some kind of trigger, some kind of flip of the switch.
I agree. And again, in the beginning, I want to point out, you notice that Trump was making a lot of points. He was saying we and our and us as if he was referring to America. But when you listen to Biden, it was a lot of I.
Yeah.
These self-aggrandizing statements. So I'm sorry.
He's alienating half the country. He says he's MAGA extremist. You're supposed to be everybody's president.
Right.
And he's lying. I mean, I hate to say it, Jay, but he's lying left and right.
Yeah.
He has not said a fact. He lied about NATO. He lied about the Charlottesville. He lied about the J6.
HBCUs.
Exactly. He's lied about. I mean, not one truth. Not one truth.
And
now,
go ahead.
I want to say this really quickly, and then I'm going to come back to you, Jason. Now, let's do a poll in the audience right now. Leave a comment right now. Who do you think is winning, and by what percentage? Let me know in the comments right now.
Yeah.
LAD, that's right. He's a lion-ass dog. That's right, Mike. Jay, what were you going to say? I want to follow back up with you.
Oh, no. I'm saying, I'm typing in my
please do.
Thanks, right quick.
Please do.
Okay. I really truly believe that this was intended to go a different way. I think by God's grace, Trump is not giving them what they want. There's been a little bit of exchange, but I think that's been fair. But they really wanted it to
Jason gives 90%. Wow.
They really wanted it to be like him and Hillary. Remember him saying wrong. They wanted that. That's what they were expecting and hoping for, and he gave them none of it. And that's where, in my opinion, that's what's really throwing them off. Now, I do think as debates go on, and again to the lower tier questions, sometimes the pushback and the
to deliver their
rebuttal
closing statement as
back.
predetermined by a coin toss. We're going to begin with you, President Biden. You have 2 minutes.
Oh, now it's 2 minutes?
It's a closing.
We've made significant progress from the debacle that was left by President Trump in his last term. We find ourselves in a situation where, number one, we have to make sure that we have a fair tax system. I ask anyone out there in the audience or anyone out watching this debate, do you think the tax system is fair? The fact is that I said nobody even making under $400,000 had a single penny increase in their taxes and will not. And if I'm reelected, that'll be the case again. But this guy has increased your taxes because of the deficit, number one.
That you created.
Increased inflation because of the debacle he left after the way he handled the pandemic.
That's too much debacle.
And he finds himself in a position where he now wants to tax you more by putting a 10% tariff on everything that comes into the United States of America. What I did, when, for example, he wants to get rid of the ability of Medicare, the ability for us to be able to negotiate drug prices with the big pharma companies. Well, guess what? We got it down to $35 for insulin instead of $400. No more than $2,000 for every senior, no matter how much prescription they need. You know what that did?
Jason, do you understand anything?
I've lost. I fell asleep.
By $160 billion over 10 years because the government doesn't have to pay the exorbitant prices. I'm going to make that available to every senior all along. It's happening now, and everybody in America. He wants to get rid of that. I'm going to make sure that we have child care. We're going to significantly increase the credits people have for child care. I'm going to make sure we do something about what we're doing on lead pipes and all the things that are causing health problems for people across the country. We're going to continue to fight to bring down inflation and give people a break.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, you now have 2 minutes for your closing
statement. Okay, here it comes.
Like so many politicians, this man is just a complainer. He said, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to get rid of this tax, that tax. But he doesn't do anything. He doesn't do. All he does is make our country unsafe by allowing millions and millions of people to pour in. Our military doesn't respect him. We look like fools in Afghanistan. We didn't stop Israel, it was such a horrible thing that would have never happened. It should have never happened. Iran was broke. Anybody that did business with Iran, including China, they couldn't do business with the United
That's
States. They all
strength.
passed. Iran was broke. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, for terror, no money whatsoever. Again, Ukraine should have never happened. He talks about all this stuff, but he didn't do it. For 3.5 years, we're living in hell. We have the Palestinians and we have everybody else rioting all over the place. You talk about Charlottesville. This is 100 times Charlottesville, 1,000 times. The whole country is exploding because of you, because they don't respect you, and they have to respect their president, and they don't respect you throughout the world. What we did was incredible. We rebuilt the military. We got the largest tax cut in history, the largest regulation cut in history. The reason he's got jobs is because I cut the regulations that gave jobs, but he's putting a lot of those regulations back on. All of the things that we've done, nobody's never seen anything like. Even from a medical standpoint, right to try.
Hasn't stumbled once.
Space age materials.
Hasn't
instead of
mumbled
going
once.
to Asia
Nope.
or going to Europe and trying to get when you're terminally ill. Now you can go and you can get something. You sign a document. They've been trying to get it for 42 years. But you know what we did for the military was incredible. Choice for our soldiers, where our soldiers, instead of waiting for 3 months to see a doctor, can go out and get themselves fixed up and readied up and take care of themselves.
Could be.
And they're living. And that's why I had the highest approval rating in the history of the VA. So all of these things, we're in a failing nation, but it's not going to be failing anymore. We're going to make it great again.
Yes.
Thank you, former President
Ended on a
Trump,
good note. I love it.
President Biden. Stay with us because we have full analysis of this debate. Anderson Cooper and Aaron Burnett starts now on CNN.
Yeah, I'm not watching
That was-
that.
I'm not
Sorry.
watching that.
We're not watching that.
Okay. And he did exactly what I wanted. The last thing he said was a slogan, was a statement. He said, "We're going to make America great again," and that was the end. So nobody else could say anything else. That's the last thing you heard. That was great. I'm sorry.
I mean, it is like to me, Jay, and everybody watching. Thank you so much for being here. By the way, love y'all
Yeah, that
so
was
much.
Great.
Hey, if you're watching on X, retweet this. Please repost this and retweet it. I'd appreciate it. Share this out on Rumble. Hit that like button. You know, it's almost like, I mean, the way that I look at it, Jay, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this. It's just like night and day.
Oh, this
You
was,
know, when there was other, you know, I actually thought, you know, Robert Dole and Bush and you know, Kerry and Bush, that whole debate, and then you had Clinton, and you know, sometimes you're like, you know, I actually some of the points that Ross Perot made were really good. I actually thought some of the points that Bush made were good, or some of the points that yada yada yada. I mean, it's like it's really, really, to me, excruciatingly painful to listen to Biden talk, period. I mean, and there's actual proof of this. There's evidence. Even when he's just in casual mode, he's creepy. He sniffs you. He hugs you. He touches you. He mumbles. He whispers. He shuffles. He doesn't walk. He shuffles. I feel sorry for this guy. I mean, as much as I absolutely abhor this party and this, because it's not the Democrat Party. I mean, this is unrecognizable. These guys are radical, extreme, left of Lenin. You know what I mean?
for sure.
And Bill Maher has said this. Don't take my word for it. Bill Maher, who's a libertarian, has said, I don't even recognize this party anymore. And so I don't really blame. I know there's a lot of people are going to give me heat about this in the comments. I blame his wife. I blame Dr. air quotes, Jill Biden. I blame Obama. I blame Oprah. I blame Clinton. I blame the people who are truly in power, because they're enabling this. They should swap him out. There's still time. What do you think about that, Jay?
If you went to your local Dunkin' Donuts, Tim Hortons, Starbucks, whatever, let's say you go every day, and you saw a man that behaved just like Joe Biden every single day in there, you would think that he needed some kind of help or assistance. There's absolutely, unequivocally no way in the world you would believe that he was a Mack truck driver carrying nuclear waste around the country. Would you?
Right.
No. Then why in the world are we voting for this guy? Why? I'm sorry, I'm sorry, that would be some must-see TV to watch an unedited cognitive test on both of them.
Yeah.
Hey, we can do the whole cabinet. I don't care.
Right.
I would love to see it, because there's no way. Joe Biden sounds like he's just going to start talking, and I'm just going to start hunt. I'm just going to keep talking until I find something that makes people nod their heads. Sir, this is ridiculous. And I do agree. I think his wife, his family should just tell him to stop. This is elder abuse at this point.
It really is.
Because, you know, whatever you think about, again, you could totally hate Donald Trump.
Right.
But you cannot tell me that Joe Biden won that debate without doing some shenanigans and some closing your eyes and just lying to yourself. You're going to have to admit, again, you could dislike him. I got you.
Yeah, you could exactly.
You could dislike him. I would ask you some more questions about that, but that's beside the point. But you cannot say.
Yeah, I'd probe a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to probe a whole lot. But you can't say that this gentleman, I'm sorry, Trump looked strong. He sounds strong. He was poised.
He projects strength,
he
balls,
did. And again,
courage.
Sure, he's been petulant child in the past, sure. But I think he did not play into the hand. He did not play into the trick bag that they laid out in front of him, kind of like the old school Looney Tune where they put the rope, the lasso on the ground and you step in it. He totally bypassed it by a mile. Hey, y'all gotta give him credit.
You know
for
what
that.
you just said there too? I need to touch on this because Jay, I love the way you said this, and you said this at the top of the debate, and you said this you kind of sporadically. Such a great observation. You know, I think the biggest problem that Trump had in previous, debates, maybe even interviews, and I've said this to myself sometimes, and he's admitted this. Sometimes he puts his foot in his mouth.
No question.
He did the exact opposite tonight, didn't he, Jay?
His foot stay where it should be, standing on the ground.
Yeah,
he sounds positive. He looks strong.
Yeah.
And when you get in a heated debate with your loved one or somebody at work or your neighbor or whatever, you get off balance and you get all discombobulated. He stood solid.
Poised.
He was poised. He was looking at the camera. I would have loved for there to have been an audience in there for him to eye connect with the audience and them see him. Because I think when they left from there, they would have been, especially if they were against him when they came in. Because we're in Atlanta and it's easy to find enough of them. Yeah, it's easy enough to find anti-Trumpers. But I think he stood there positive. He wasn't slumping. He wasn't doing a lot of the stuff that he's done in the past.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I thought he did a great job. I was pleasantly surprised.
I think that was the one factor I think that you brought up that was really, you could tell right away. And you could also, it almost seemed like in the beginning, I mean, Biden started and it was, super meth Biden. It was nonstop. I couldn't understand a word he said. As a matter of fact, throughout the entire debate, I don't think I could really understand him. Could you, Jay?
No. And okay, I will say this. I don't think his mic was up enough. I think
who Biden or Trump?
Biden's.
Okay.
Watch this. You'll know if I'm right if the excuse that people use is that his mic was not turned up enough. The audio wasn't enough. And that you'll be like, oh, Jason did say that. I think his mic was turned down. Now, granted, he also was not projecting.
That wouldn't surprise me.
He also was not speaking clearly. He also was not projecting. He also was not, coming across very strong. But his mic wasn't on. Wasn't up to the same level as Trump's. But let me also say this. What he was saying, the little bit that I was able to glean, was not worthwhile either. So maybe they just turned it down so you wouldn't hear it. And then you'd have to read the transcript because most people are not going to read the transcript. They're going to take the soundbite that they're able to get, which will probably be 45% of the soundbites are going to be Trump saying something that they're going to use and push in a different direction. It is what it is. But I'm sorry. I think he did a great job.
Iowa Girl has a great point here. Fox is saying no personal attacks. And she was keeping count the entire time.
Oh,
I was kind of surprised, Jason. He turned and looked at him in that creepy snarl.
Several times.
Yeah. First he said, and the ones that come to my mind to me are the most stark contrast was he said, "You're a sucker and you're a loser." Literally looking at the former president of the greatest country on planet Earth and calling him a sucker and a loser. Then he's called him a whiner. That was a big one.
Sure did.
I don't remember. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm happy to be wrong. I've said this many times on this channel. It's not about America is a meritocracy. The best idea wins. The best person wins. It's not about right or wrong or egos. If we throw that all aside, America is a meritocracy. That's what makes this a great country. So if I'm wrong, please prove me wrong in the chat. But here's what I want to say that's so important. Hey, Lee, good to see you. I'll tell you who he is in just a second. It's good to see you, Lee Johnston, in the house. I'll give I'm going to give Jason I'm going to give him the floor to talk about
Oh.
him and his channel and just stick around.
Okay,
But
get
here's
ready.
what's
I
so
get
interesting
loose.
is I don't recall one time President Trump looking at Biden and saying, you're slow, you're lost, you're a loser, you're this. I didn't see any ad hominem. Am I wrong, Jay?
I did not see that. He did say that he lied.
But I
But
mean,
I think
that
that-
was
no.
more on the premise of the show, which is context matters.
Correct.
That he's telling the country, it's like lying on a resume, right?
No, I totally get you. But no, to the point that you're asking, no, he didn't.
Yes.
Where he could have called him names, he could have said, various and sundry things about him. He didn't. Which again, I think Trump realized that they had the lasso right there. He was going to step into the trap, and they had the bear trap ready for him. And he did not fall for it. He did exactly what he should do. And I think it projects again, not only strength, it projects again that, hey, this guy is able to talk to China. He's going to be able to talk to Putin. He's going to be able to deal with Mexico as he closed the border. Like, yeah, I think I believe in him. I believe, because we already see what Joe's doing. Joe didn't come across strong.
I mean, who do you want? Would you rather have this guy? Sure. Or would you rather have this guy? Hey, you guys, you got to pay your fair share. You got to do it.
Absolutely.
Quite frankly, it's going to. I'm sorry.
And keep in mind, this is the best Joe Biden.
It's beautiful. Huge China.
Yeah. But please understand, this is the best Joe Biden. This is their
that
best.
He'll ever be. And he's
right,
hopped
this is their
up.
best offering. So
he's hopped up. Yeah.
Right. If this were a beauty pageant, this is the swimsuit or nightgown competition. Like, this is the best that you have. You're not going to do any better than this. This is and okay, just ask yourself. Just ask yourself.
I mean, there's a reason, and also when you said something really interesting too, Jay, and I want to get some comments from the chat too. What your take is on this debate that just happened? You said something really interesting, Jay. You said he did call him a liar. Now, this is what's really interesting related to that. Biden made a clear proclamation that under his presidency, this is under Biden, that the world was safer.
I have no idea how you got that.
That to me is and you know what's so interesting? I love how Trump said, first off, I have to say this, because Tapper and Dana were coming at him towards the end. I agree that they were less than I thought they would be. They
wanted more. They were ready.
Yeah, they wanted more.
For sure.
But Trump said, first of all, I've been doing this a long time. I've been on this side, that side. I've never seen a bigger liar than this guy.
Wow.
Because Iran wouldn't have attacked Israel with such brazenness. We wouldn't have had Hamas. We wouldn't have had Israel and Hamas in another endless war. Ukraine, Putin definitely would have respected Trump. And by the way, what is the point of NATO? If there's ever a problem, who ends up giving 90% of forces, ground, air, sea, resources, money, funding? Who gives 90% of the resources? We do. Yeah, so what's the point of NATO? I don't understand. Can anybody tell me what the point of? It's supposed to be the North Atlantic Treaty organization, but here's what I don't understand. We are 90. If I'm being nice, by the way, it's probably like
you're right.
95.
You're 100% right.
Why are we? Why do we even? He keeps saying he's gonna. You know what he's gonna do? He's gonna take us out of NATO. Give me another reason to vote for him.
Right. Because I can only vote once.
I can only vote once. But let me know in the comments, what do y'all think? And then Jay, to me, there is a clear cut choice. Okay. This is not, Clinton Bush. This is not Kerry Bush. This is not, I think there was respect. There was intelligence. Dole Clinton. I think there was areas, even Romney, Obama. I mean, there was points where you're like, you know what? They made a good point. This person made it. I mean, to me, this could be, and I'm knocking on wood here. I don't want to jinx it. Everybody put anti-jinx in the comments. I think it's going to be a Reagan landslide. It's going to be a Reagan-esque landslide, especially when you got people like David Sachs and, tech silicon billionaires who never, ever voted anything other than left. You've got independents. You've got, by the way, Jay, I have to ask you this, and I know I don't want to put you in a bad spot, but how do you feel? This is a serious question, Jay. And if you don't want to answer this, just say, Nez, I can't answer that. How does it feel when Biden says if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. How does that feel? As an African American, as a black man, a smart, intelligent, successful black man, even though I hate to make skin tone something we have zero control over, any kind of variable, how does that make you feel?
Actually, I don't care because I don't listen to that foolishness.
There you
So I
go.
don't subscribe to that. I am highly melanated. My mom and dad are highly melanated. My beautiful, highly melanated wife is
Well
sitting there
said.
watching Game Show Network, and
Well
I got
said.
2 very beautiful, highly melanated babies. Joe Biden is not the determinant of my ethnicity. By
Love that.
God's grace, he blessed me with all this great melanin. Joe is just bitter and mad that he didn't get blessed with melanin.
Amen to
Joe,
that.
nothing I can do about that. Take that
Yeah.
to the Lord in prayer. But
Yeah.
in the meantime, don't try to sit there and tell me that if I don't subscribe to your wicked, evil, idolatrous political platform that I am not black, sir, I'm not worried about that. So
Beautiful.
that's what I think.
Well
about
said.
Joe.
That is, everybody give me an amen. I love the way Jason said that. Now, Jason, do you
Yes,
want to
sir.
tell people, because I want to give you the floor before we go, and
for
I
sure.
will
Thank you, man.
I will leave the link again in the chat because you guys all have to go check out Dear Woke Christian. Jason, tell our audience a little bit about you because, and by the way, he was nice enough. This is a full-time dad like myself. He's a father. He's a husband. He's a full-time content creator. And you're also a pastor. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jason.
Please don't tell anybody that. I'm a deacon.
Deacon. Okay, deacon. But you're like somebody who I feel I can listen to Jason all day. Why? Because he's super articulate, erudite, intelligent. But I really love his heart and his faith, and I love
Thank
that.
you, sir.
But let me give you the floor, sir, and I'm going to leave a link again to his channel. Tell everybody a little bit. And he was nice enough, by the way. Last second, he was like, "Sure, I would love to join you." And he probably has to go just like I do pretty soon. Tell everybody a little bit about you and your channel.
Well, thank you so much. My name is Jason, and again, my name's Jason, Dear Woke Christian, the podcast. I live here in Atlanta, Georgia, and I started this podcast because during the summer of love, I just saw so many people doing things that did not rhyme or even sound like Christian behavior. And I started writing little tweets and started writing memes saying, "Hey, Dear Woke Christian, how do you do this?" And so that's how we got here. Now, from here, I like to address social and political commentary from a Christian male perspective. And I kind of started out really focusing on woke ideologies, critical race theory, and social justice, and really pointing out how the scriptures are so much better and Jesus Christ is so much better than what we're projected in the Black liberation theology or the woke ideologies or Black Lives Matters and all that kind of foolishness. So that's what I do. And so thankfully, I've had the opportunity to do this almost about 3 years, talking about various and sundry topics. I've talked a lot about what's going on here in Atlanta because there's a lot of things happening.
There's so much happening in Atlanta.
There's so much happening here in Atlanta. And I didn't realize
that's where we kind of connected was on
Absolutely.
Fannie Willis, right, Jay, a little bit?
Fannie is the gift that just keeps on giving.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Fannie
and now you got Young Thug and you got, Miss Love, holy macadamia nut.
Oh my gosh. And matter of fact,
I pray for Fulton County every day. I really do.
I do want to say this, Professor Nez. I do want us to come back because we might need to have like an off-camera or maybe in-camera discussion about where do you think this is all going to go? I know I don't want to talk about it tonight, but I would love to hear
we'll do a whole thing on it.
Where you think
we'll
this
do a
is
whole
all
thing
going to
on
go?
it.
Because you've talked to a lot of people and you've talked to a lot of very smart legal minds that have addressed this. So, but back to the point. I want to say thank you again to the Nez Nation. Thanks for letting me come on tonight. This was a lot of fun. I did not expect to have this much fun.
Total blast.
This was a blast, and I'm just really encouraged. The chat was insane. You guys are amazing over there. But then the content was this was a lot of fun. I have to say, I was pleasantly surprised by 45. Biden gave me exactly what I thought he was going to give me, but it's actually worse than I thought.
We might have to do that. Hey, Jay, we might have to do this again for part 2. And part 2 we can do on YouTube because correct me if I'm wrong. If somebody knows in the chat, I don't know. But I think the second one is done by Fox, right? The second debate?
Yes, but bro, do you really think they're going to want to have a second one?
I mean, if honestly, if Biden, I don't even know. I agree with what Bill Ackman said. I don't even know if this guy can make it to the end of this term.
I don't think so. I don't think so. But
he seemed brittle. He seemed feeble. He seemed out of breath. And again, my heart goes out to him as somebody who does not want to ever see another human being in pain and misery. And I want to do everything possible to help people. I like to help people. I'm laughing, but as I'm thinking about it, it's kind of laughter. It's kind of like that old blues line. I'm laughing just to keep from crying. And you start to think about it. You're like, gosh, this is really, how can anybody who loves this man, because there are people who love Joseph Biden.
And we should want the best for him.
Yeah, we should want, but what I'm saying is, how can anybody who loves this man observe what we just witnessed? Everybody witnessed this the same, right, and say, oh yeah, he's good to go. How can anybody say that?
And care about him, I don't think.
As a man of God, Jason, as a man of God, and as somebody I know who you care about people, you love people. Absolutely. Because you just exude a great energy.
Thank you.
What do you think that his loved ones are thinking? Like if you were one of his loved ones, if you were one of his, let's say you were his confidant, what would you tell? Would you say, you know what, Joe, we'll get him next time? Or would you say, Joe,
you need to, personally, I think greed and covetousness and the love of power is pushing Joe forward. And it's not really Joe. I don't think I think he probably would want to go sit down. It's all of the people around him, because he is an avatar for their movement that they want to do and the power grab that they want. And they just need him to keep being that face for as long as he can be that face. So sadly, there's not enough people around to say, yo, this is not a good look. And being the fact that it's been known, there's people, I mean, there's literal YouTube channels just highlighting all of the gaffes and all of the stumbles and fumbles and foibles.
Oh, it's gaff after gaff.
Like at some point you have to say, yeah, I think this is elder abuse. I do think this is a form of abuse. Because do you really want me to believe that the world needs him? For what? For real? Let's just be honest.
And the fact that he vehemently rejected any pre-debate drug test. It's funny because Jay and I were talking. Those of you who are joining us now, Jason and I were talking earlier. He could easily dispel all the speculation. He can easily. I mean, what harm would it be? I don't know about you, but I've had positions, I've had jobs where they said, we like your resume, we like your track record, but you need to pass this drug test. This is the #1 job in the world. This is the highest executive office in the land.
Yeah.
It seems like it wouldn't be that, supernatural to ask for each of these people who are applying for this position to take a drug test. Is that out of order?
No, but think about it. But you would want Donald Trump's taxes. They would want Donald Trump's taxes to do this job, but you wouldn't want to do a drug test on the current president or whatnot. Like, why? Why would you not?
Right. It doesn't make any sense.
No sense at all.
So, hey, I just want to say thank you again to everybody who joined us. I want to say thank you to our awesome mods in the house. We had some problems on Rumble. It seems like Rumble's working now.
Rumble's rumbling.
Rumbling now. Yeah. Now that all that's over, right? We couldn't go live on YouTube. It seemed like some people were going live on YouTube. I was checking kind of intermittently.
Yeah, I saw that.
It was too big of a risk for us channels who don't have, a team of lawyers. I know some people were going live, but I can almost, and I'm going to knock on wood here, I can almost guarantee we will be going live everywhere at the next debate. And if Jason wants to hang out with us, fantastic. If not, I get it. But guess what? We're going to be going live. So make sure you follow us. Make sure you subscribe. It's all free. Follow us on Rumble. You don't have to subscribe. I know subscribing on Rumble is different. Follow us. Make sure you click all notifications. You can even go to our YouTube channel, Professor Nez, and subscribe to our free newsletter. Maybe Mike could leave a link to our site, Mike, to our free newsletter. That's your sure-proof way of never missing out. So you never miss out. And just all you got to do is click on that link, give us your best email, and bada boom, you're in. Never worry about it. Out of mind, out of sight, you're good. That's your best way. So make sure you do that. Jay, any final words before we get out of here?
That's it, man. I'm gonna probably do a recap in about 15 minutes or so.
So go to Dear Woke Christian. He's gonna do a recap. So go to Dear Woke Christian if
I'd
you
love
want
to hear your chant. Hear everybody.
Maybe I'll pop in too. I got to go check on the kids real fast.
I know that's
right. Absolutely, go check out Dear Woke Christian, and that would be awesome. I left the link in the description. Hey, Jay, thank you again. Thank you everybody for watching. And as always, God bless you, and may God bless America. We'll see you soon, y'all.